Welcome to the fantasy audiobook, Man in Another World, Awakening Hokage System. Chapter 81. Jar's delicate little face turned up with a faint smile, and she said softly to Lei, who was still angry in front of her, "Aren't you here?" "You." Lei suddenly lost his temper. Jar fell into the hands of the Ma family, and it was also because of him that her heart instantly softened. There was a touch of tenderness on his tense face. Feeling the warmth of Jar's breath, his eyebrows were furrowed, and his eyes were full of complicated emotions of happiness and guilt. "Silly girl, do you know you almost..." Lei's voice was a little hoarse and a little scared. Jar gently patted the back of Lei Ting's hand, blinked her slender eyelashes, feeling Lei Ting's care. A blush slowly appeared on her face, and said with a smile, "Haha. Okay. At this time, the fear in her heart also eased. She raised her delicate chin and looked at everyone in the room. A light voice rang in the room. "Don't worry, everyone, this is mine. My family is here. You don't have to worry anymore, you are all free." Hearing Jar's faint voice, many numb women in the room looked up at her, with a hint of brightness on their numb faces. After a brief silence, everyone in the room slowly lowered their heads and shed tears. Some half-year-old children who had not yet understood the truth burst into tears. Lei looked at such a scene and felt sad in his heart. No matter which world he was in, human traffickers were an unpardonable crime. Little sister, that's great. It's great to see you're okay." Feng Ning and the others also rushed in at this time and saw the petite figure in front of Lei. Suddenly he rushed up laughing and hugged Jar fiercely. However, when she heard the low crying coming from the house, Feng Ning was stunned for a moment. "Little sister, what's going on? These children and..." After reacting and looking at the many women and children in the room, Feng Ning asked blankly. "What's going on, you idiot? The Ma family, you actually dare to do something like this?" Yang Shui looked at a room full of women and children, and gritted her teeth. "The Ma family is so hateful, they dare to traffic in humans." The people from the major families in Xicheng who followed also stared at the many women in the room with their mouths open. "Oh my god, Ma Ji actually dares to traffic in humans. This Ma family is simply a disaster to Xicheng. No, the Ma family has been ruthless people for generations. But in the past, it was okay to sell medicinal materials and monsters to grab some resources, but now they dare to traffic in humans. It is simply lawless." At this time, Wu Xing, the head of the Wu family, reacted and immediately cursed. At the same time, he solemnly said to Lei, "Thank you little brother for your generous action. This scourge of the Ma family has been eliminated. I don't know how many more people will be killed. This old fox really knows how to take advantage of opportunities." Everyone in Xicheng looked at Wu Xing and cursed in their hearts. However, they just cursed in their hearts. The Ma family fell, and the Wu family was not something they could easily offend. They were also smart people, and when they saw Wu Xing's actions, they immediately thanked him. In the previous battle, Thunder's invincible figure had been deeply imprinted in their hearts. If you don't take advantage of this opportunity, don't show your loyalty, and don't draw a clear line with the Ma family, are you waiting to be purged together with the Ma family? For a time, many people from the big families in Xicheng were angrily cursing the Ma family, so naturally they would not miss this opportunity. "That's right, little brother, thank you for getting rid of the Ma family. How did you know that Ma Jia was actually engaging in such intrigues? He deserves to be killed." A group of famous family elders in Xicheng were all smiling and expressing their gratitude. Ba bang bang. At this time, there was fierce applause in the other courtyard. Many people from the Xicheng family applauded fiercely at this time. While they admired Lei in their hearts, they also thought about how much their family could gain. Lei was not happy when he heard the applause. He did not show any expression on his face. This was just the plan of the big clans in Xicheng to carve up the Ma family. Many women in the house heard the angry curses outside the house, and their faces showed a light of joy, but when they thought about the current situation, their faces showed worries. They no longer have a home. They secretly looked at Lei and Jar. At this time, Yang Eri and Yang Yi walked through the crowd from behind and came over. After seeing Lei, Mr. Yang's face suddenly showed a smile, and he said slowly, "Haha. Heroic boy, Brother Lei has helped our Yang family a lot. They asked for it. Lei Lei said calmly, but his eyes were fixed on the person in front of him. The feeling this man gave him was not simple. The aura leaked out was much stronger than Ma Ji's. Haha, no matter what Brother Lei's purpose is, the cancer of the Ma family is so hidden that our Yang family was almost deceived by the Ma family. For this reason, the Yang family owes Brother Lei a share. Favor. Yang Eri didn't care about Lei Ting's prying eyes, but said matter-of-factly. At the same time, he looked at the many women in the room and had a bad feeling in his heart. The Ma family is not just as simple as it seems, is it also colluding with certain forces? If so, second uncle. Yang Shui looked at the sudden appearance of the figure and was stunned for a moment. Then she reacted and immediately interrupted the deep voice of Mr. Yang. Haha, Xiao Shui, that's pretty good. Seeing Yang Shui's angry face, Mr. Yang walked over and laughed loudly to cover up his embarrassment. Yang Shui looked at the people in front of her and said that her second uncle should be here to discuss business cooperation with the Ma family. During the battle just now, he actually watched from the sidelines, watching her fall into danger without taking action. Thinking of this, Yang Shui's face suddenly showed an angry look. Second uncle, you actually watched us being bullied by the Ma family and didn't come out to help. Yang Shui changed the topic and sneered at Second Master Yang. Listening to the slightly angry tone, Mr. Yang was stunned and chuckled. Hey, isn't Brother Lei here? Look, there's nothing wrong with you guys. Humph. Hearing this, Yang Shui tilted her head and ignored it. Haha, if Brother Lei can trust Second Master, leave the Ma family's affairs to me. Second Master Yang chuckled lightly to cover up his embarrassment, and then said to Lei Ting. Haha, the Second Master is overly concerned. Since you are the elder of the senior classmate, I can only ask for it to be left to you. Lei Lei glanced at the people present, looked at their longing eyes, and said with a smile, I am not interested in other things. I only have one request, just make arrangements for these women and children. Hearing Lei Lei's words, everyone in Xicheng suddenly burst into unexcitable ecstasy. Haha, Brother Lei, don't worry, arranging them is just a trivial matter. Night gradually fell, and after the shocking battle during the day, Xicheng finally returned to its former peace. But in the hearts of many people, the changes in the Ma family are still full of excitement and excitement. The most curious thing is Lei Ting's identity and his relationship with that woman. The destruction of the Ma family was also caused by that woman. This shows the young man's feelings for the woman. A crescent moon hangs in the night sky, Feng family manor. Lei Lei and Jar were sitting in the courtyard, admiring the beautiful scenery under the moon, looking at the graceful figures in front of them, and talking about interesting things they encountered in the Warcraft Mountains. Of course, the matter with the Black Wolf mercenary group was not mentioned. Lei Lei immediately thought of something, turned his right hand, and a magic core appeared in his hand, and then handed it to Jar. This is the magic core I obtained from hunting the one-horned rhinoceros in the Warcraft Mountains. Lei Lei said softly, it is also the first and only magic core I have obtained. I wanted to give it to Jar at that time. Looking at the cyan magic core, Jar was stunned for a moment, and then raised her delicate face, looking at Lei Lei with her smart eyes, and a hint of shyness appeared on her cheeks. Ah, give it to me. Jar was quite surprised by this accident. Under her smart eyes, Lei Lei nodded slowly. Brother Lei, thank you. A smile also appeared on Jar's cheeks. She took it with both hands and put it away very carefully. Although this magic core was not of high grade and not of high value, but to her, it means something completely different. Looking at Lei Lei's thin face, now that Lei Lei has been baptized by the Warcraft Mountains, his face looks much sharper. By the way, Brother Lei, when I was taken to Ma's courtyard, I heard them mentioning the Holy Mountain at the door. Jar's face turned serious as if she remembered something. Holy Mountain, Holy Cult. Lei Lei frowned. Hearing this, Jar hesitated slightly. As long as it was connected to the Holy Mountain, it was not a small problem. Since the Ma family mentioned the Holy Mountain, it must not be underestimated. At the same time, they were also worried about Lei Ting's future safety. Jar did not dare to be careless and nodded. Yes, they mentioned the Holy Mountain. It seems that the people they captured, just to be sent to the Holy Mountain. That means the Ma family is working for the Holy Mountain. After hearing Jar's words, Lei Lei's face became more solemn, and a flash of light flashed in his eyes. This is why the Ma family still dared to take action even after Feng Ning declared his family status. He didn't believe that such a big Ma family didn't know the Feng family's status in the empire. The Ma family still pursued Feng Ning after taking action against Jar, probably because they were worried about information being leaked, but at the same time they also relied on him. Does this have to be related to the Holy Mountain? And it's huge. It's so big that even the Feng family doesn't dare to offend it. I just don't know how involved it is, and what is the relationship between the Ma family and the Holy Mountain. Lei Lei never expected that the behemoth Holy Mountain would be involved. Thinking of this, Lei Lei was extremely lucky to have met Feng Ning on the road, otherwise the consequences would have been disastrous. Brother Lei, will the Holy Mountain side pursue the case? The Ma family arrested me for this reason. At this point, Jar's face showed a hint of worry. Lei Lei looked at Jar's worried expression, slowly shook his head, and whispered, "Don't worry, the Ma family is just a little guy, and the matter itself is not very glorious, even if the Holy Mountain knows about it, and won't make a fuss about it." Having said this, Lei Lei clenched his fist fiercely and said domineeringly, "Besides, I'm not a stickler." Ha ha. Jar was instantly amused by Lei Ting's last words. What's going on? It's so funny. At this time, Feng Ning heard the sound and came over, but his eyes were staring at Lei Lei, as if his treasure was about to be stolen by Lei Lei. Lei Lei looked at Feng Ning, who was eyeing him with eagerness. Thinking of the danger Jar encountered today, he suddenly became angry and his eyes became sharp. Feng Ning, it's so good for you to come. It's better to choose a different day than to hit it. Now let's fulfill my promise. Having said this, Lei Lei's figure instantly appeared in the open space of the yard, waved to Feng Ning and said, "Come on." Ah! When Feng Ning heard Lei Lei's words, his body instantly stiffened. "You horse rider, what are you doing here? Isn't this looking for sin?" Thinking of the miserable situation of the Ma family, Feng Ning shuddered instantly, ignored Lei Lei, turned around and said, "Ha ha. Lei Lei, it's nothing, I was just passing by." "Ha ha, sister, it's too late, it's time to go back and rest." As soon as he finished speaking, Feng Ning turned around and ran away. Ha ha. Jar was instantly amused by Feng Ning. When Lei Lei saw Feng Ning running out, of course he wouldn't let him go so easily. If he didn't let out a bad breath, he wouldn't have to sleep tonight. "Feng Ning, where are you going?" Lei Lei shouted and quickly completed the seal with both hands. Whoosh! Lei Ting's figure instantly appeared in front of Feng Ning, and kicked him over without giving Feng Ning a chance to react. Bang! Feng Ning was not prepared at all. He was kicked back to the yard by thunder, and he steadied himself in embarrassment. Looking at Lei Lei, who refused to let him go, Feng Ning's face was as pale as pig liver. "Come on, Feng Ning, let's have a physical duel." Lei Lei didn't care about Feng Ning's ugly face, he just wanted to vent his anger. "Lei Lei, do you think I'm afraid of you?" Feng Ning looked at Lei Lei, who didn't want to let him go, and became angry, and rushed towards Lei Lei in an instant. Hee hee, good job. Looking at Feng Ning rushing towards him, Lei Lei did not dodge. At the same time, he quickly rushed towards Feng Ning and punched him. With his current strength, even a high-level swordsman would find it difficult to resist with his physical strength without the use of strange powers. The terrifying power of the fist blasted out, and the compressed air made bursts of whistling sounds. "Are you serious?" Feng Ning felt the energy and was shocked. His fighting spirit exploded and he punched to resist. However, that terrifying punch was beyond Feng Ning's imagination. What a powerful force! Feng Ning took a few steps back in embarrassment, and then stabilized his figure. The sharp pain that shot up his arm made him unable to hold back tears. Is this guy still a human? Feng Ning could clearly feel that Lei Lei did not use fighting energy at all, it was purely physical strength. But before he could react, thunder punched him. Feng Ning's expression suddenly changed. He didn't dare to confront anyone head-on and immediately evaded. However, his speed was not thunderous at all. Bang! I asked you to hide. Lei Lei's sneer sounded instantly in the yard. Ah! Don't fight, I admit defeat. I give up. Feng Ning suddenly screamed, but as soon as he finished speaking, another punch hit him. I asked you to leave Jar. I let you bully me before. I let you. I didn't. I wasn't Sister, save me. In the night sky, cries for help and sweet laughter kept ringing. Many days later, in the afternoon, the gate of Fulong College. Finally back. Lei Lei looked at Fulong Academy and relaxed instantly. This time he went to the Warcraft Mountains for a mission, and the journey back and forth was really full of twists and turns. At this time, a figure walked over with a gloomy expression. There is murderous intent. Lei Lei's hair stood on end instantly. Sister Uaa, Teacher Feng. Seeing the beautiful figure approaching, everyone immediately felt that something was wrong. The gloomy face and the aura exuding from her body were really scary. Lei Lei was even more upset by the sight. Sister Uaa agreed to his trip to the Warcraft Mountains this time, but something happened in the middle of the trip. A little surprise. Feng Uaa stared at Jar and the others, her eyebrows slowly raised. She was obviously extremely angry. Lu and Wu looked at each other and clearly felt that the atmosphere was getting worse. They quickly said to Feng Yuer, "Let's leave first." Seeing Feng Yuer's expression that seemed to be angry, they left quickly without hesitation, and Yang Shui even looked back with gloating. Haha, how dare I bother Sister Uaa to come and pick her up in person. Looking at Sister Uaa's appearance, Lei Lei felt even more frightened in his heart. He instantly laughed dryly in an attempt to resolve the increasingly depressing atmosphere. Looking at the figure with a dark face and approaching closely, he might as well use the teleportation technique to run away first. Anyway, if you run away, someone will jack up the cylinder in front. The worst he could do was admit his punishment in private. Lei Lei thought of this and felt instantly at ease. Sister, I was wrong. Jar lowered her head, like a child who had done something wrong and was waiting to be punished. Sister, I'm leaving first. Feng Ning saw something was wrong and immediately prepared to escape. Haha, let's go somewhere, are you sneaking out? Feng Yuer's face was full of anger when he heard this, and he shouted excitedly from behind. And you, what's your mistake? Do you think you are too lucky to be in the girl's family? You dare to run out alone? Sister Uaa, I went out to do a mission, as you know. Lei Lei looked at the excited Feng Yuaa and muttered. After thinking about it, it was better to get away as soon as possible and let the three brothers and sisters handle the matter by themselves. Hearing this, Feng Yuer instantly glared at Lei Lei. The thunder suddenly exploded. The momentum was so terrifying that my only thought was to run. I'm glad nothing happened to you. Am I worried about you too much? Seeing the eldest sister's appearance, the three of them were stunned. The breeze blew to the ground, and her long hair fluttered in the wind, and a bright teardrop fell down. College Forest Path. After Feng Yuaa vented her emotions, although she still had a straight face, she no longer frightened Lei Ting and the others. Several people walked side by side, and Lei Lei once again talked about his experience in the Warcraft Mountains. Naturally, we cannot mention the matter of strangling the Black Wolf mercenary group. Why did you go to the depths of the Warcraft Mountains? Feng Yuaa stared at Lei Lei with a gloomy expression. Haha, after completing the mission, I was walking around casually. I didn't expect that I met Yang Shui and others being chased by the Black Wolf mercenary group. Lei Lei quickly explained. It was purely an accident. If it weren't for my appearance, they would be in danger. As if asking for credit, he started to sneer at the same time. How many people know about the Black Wolf mercenary group? Feng Yuer said solemnly. Just us. Lei Lei asked pretendingly, what's the problem? The Black Wolf mercenary group is investigating the attack on the Warcraft town station. Feng Yuaa said slowly. Don't tell anyone about what happened in the Warcraft Mountains. It will cause unnecessary trouble. Okay, Sister Uaa. Lei Lei just nodded, not reassured. In 1 month, the college competition will start. Don't go out during this period. Feng Yuer said again. Academy competition. Haha, eldest sister, just watch me show off my skills. Feng Ning said arrogantly, but when she saw Lei Lei's glance over, she instantly felt pain all over her body again. I will never meet this guy again. He is just an animal. However, thinking of this, Feng Ning reminded Lei Lei. Thunder, you haven't made it to the rankings yet, have you? Ranking list. Lei Lei was a little confused. That's right, only by entering the college rankings can you finally be qualified to compete in the college competition. Feng Ning said this with a proud look on his face. Hey, I am 39th on the rankings. Is number 39 very strong? Lei Lei asked with a half smile. Certainly. Hearing this, Feng Ning said matter-of-factly, but he reacted quickly. Looking at Lei Lei's smiling face, he suddenly withered. Haha, just average, just average. Feng Ning reminded Lei Lei to cover up his embarrassment. However, to participate in the academy competition, you must first qualify. That's right. However, I got the news that Li Xiaoran seems to have made a breakthrough. Feng Yue didn't care about Feng Ning's words, looked at Lei Lei, and reminded, you should be careful too. Isn't it a breakthrough? Feng Ning said carelessly, suddenly thinking of something. Turning to look at the eldest sister, he said dumbfounded, Wow Sao, Li Xiaoran has broken through again. Didn't he just break through to the great swordsman last year? Has he broken through again? That's right, another breakthrough. Only us tutors in the academy know about it. Feng Yue looked at Feng Ning's appearance, shook her head, and said nothing more. It's just an animal, no. Feng Ning said this and touched thunder. There was a bigger animal here. Haha, Lei Lei, Li Xiaoran will leave it to you. When the time comes, give me a hard beating. When I saw his cold face, I wanted to beat him up. Lei Lei was speechless for a moment. No one else has provoked you. You must seize this opportunity. This year the college has taken out the 7-star fruit as the jackpot. Feng Yue crossed her arms and reminded. 7-star fruit? Lei Lei asked in confusion. Yes, let's put it this way, it is more precious than blood ginseng. Feng Yue heard Lei Lei's doubts and explained, it can consolidate and improve one's cultivation. It is an extremely rare medicinal material. More precious than blood ginseng. Upon hearing this, Lei Lei's eyes suddenly brightened, and blood ginseng cost 5,000 contribution points. 7-star fruit, you won't know how powerful it is just by hearing its name. Trigger the system task, win first place in the academy competition, and be rewarded with 10,000 experience points and 5,000 contribution points. Haha, this is great, I've got the first place. So confident, Feng Yue glanced at Lei Lei, as if he was talking big words. Of course, I believe you, brother Lei. You have to give Li Xiaoran a good beating. At night, in the imperial capital, a very ordinary courtyard. In the dim courtyard, the firelight danced in the basin. An old man lying on the chair next to him appeared and disappeared under the light of the fire. Motionless and silent, at this moment, he suddenly opened a pair of cloudy eyes and looked outside the hospital. At this time, a thin but capable young man walked in slowly. After seeing the old man's figure, he stood in front of him with unusual respect. Sir, you are looking for me. Snake, is it done? The old man said in a hoarse voice that seemed to have been tempered by time. Sir, it's just a small matter. Snake answered clearly and calmly. A flash of fierceness flashed in the old man's eyes, and he regained his composure. Kill him, this is your new mission. Yes, Snake respectfully took a small cloth bag and the portrait. His eyes flashed with surprise, and he backed away. It turned out to be the extremely precious green-winged beetle. The small courtyard fell into silence again. Only the old man fell into deep thought again. Didn't succeed once. Didn't work twice. The boy from the Lei family is definitely not that simple. Snake, an elite member of the killer organization, the old man looked at the retreating figure, hoping in his heart that he would not be disappointed this time. The old man licked his chapped lips and couldn't wait to hear the good news from the Snake team. As the night grew darker, a silent tension filled the courtyard, as if indicating that a bigger storm was coming. At noon the next day, after Lei Lei handed over the task, he came to the academy competition ground. After Feng Ning's reminder, since he was going to participate in the college competition, he naturally had to fight for a place to qualify. The sun was scorching at noon at this time. Ordinary people rarely went out at this time and mostly stayed at home to escape the heat. However, many people gathered at the college competition ground. The competition field can be said to be the most popular area of the academy, and it can also be said that the college's decision-making is very wise. It is precisely because of the existence of the competition field that students will not just become flowers in a greenhouse without any practical experience. Once you leave the academy, you will be plunged into a cruel battle of life and death, unable to cope with it. In order to better stimulate competition among students, a ranking list was established. 1 is ranking. The rankings in the college rankings can get more benefits and resources in the college. The corresponding rankings in the rankings can get the corresponding points every month. This alone makes the students jealous. Almost every time they get a promotion, they will go through extremely difficult struggles. The second is qualifications. Because there are too many people in the academy, it is impossible to go through layers of selection, which is too time-consuming. In order to highlight the importance of the ranking list, the academy directly binds the competition qualifications to it. Those who can enter the academy are basically the proud ones of heaven, and no one is considered worse than others. In order to qualify for the academy competition, many students will take the initiative to challenge those on the list. Although the sun was blazing right now, it still couldn't stop the enthusiasm of the students. It's hard to overstate how crowded the competition ground was. Looking up, it was all filled with black heads. It seems extremely noisy here, and all kinds of roars can be heard clearly even from 100 meters away. Go on, kill him. Let them see how powerful you are. If you kill him, you will have a chance to enter the top 100 list. Outside the battle circle, some students looked at the two people fighting in the center of the field and shouted excitedly. According to the rules, as long as someone can defeat the person on the ranking list, he can directly replace his ranking position and become the strongest person on the list. After Lei Lei entered the competition ground, he randomly found a place to watch. Young Master Wang Zhen, who was wearing a blue warrior uniform, looked at the figure who appeared outside the competition venue with great surprise. Didn't he go to the Warcraft Mountains to do a mission? He actually came back alive, which was completely inconsistent with what he expected. Wang Zhen's face darkened. However, thinking of Lei Lei's insult to him in the restaurant last time, he secretly resented it. He raised his eyes and looked at the flattering students around him. He immediately took it into consideration and confessed to them in a low voice. Those people looked at Lei Lei, and their eyes suddenly became lustful. Lei Lei suddenly noticed a few peeping eyes and looked up, only to see several figures walking towards him with sinister smiles on their faces. Trouble is coming. However, Lei Lei did not retreat, but looked at them indifferently. Hey! Several figures came over, and one of them said in a strange tone, "Isn't this the trash of the college? Why are you here suddenly? Are you going to participate in a competition?" Ha ha! When Lei Lei heard their taunts, his face suddenly darkened. Where did the dog come from, barking like crazy here? Hee hee, you said we are dogs, okay, very good. The man suddenly looked gloomy and said, then how about we compare? Look who's the puppy. Lei Lei looked at them coldly. No one would come over to stir up trouble for no reason. Although Wang Zhen hid well in the crowd, he was still discovered. Very good. Lei Lei looked indifferent. He had already guessed the purpose of these people. Isn't it just a slap in the face? Let's see who slaps whom in the face. He originally wanted to compete on stage, but didn't someone send it to him? Why are you scared? Seeing that Lei Lei was indifferent, the man pretended to be surprised and said, if you're scared, just bark 3 times in front of everyone. The people next to him echoed. Since they knew that the person in front of them was a famous loser in the college, they naturally became unscrupulous. In their eyes, the eldest young master of the Hu Mansion can only be divided into strong and weak. At the same time, they also want to arouse Lei Lei's anger and agree to compete with them on stage, so. Hey, in the academy, as long as both parties agree, the academy will not interfere in their fight until one party admits defeat or is knocked to the ground. As long as he is not disabled, the instructor in charge here will not intervene rashly. Ha ha. His words immediately caused several other people to burst into laughter. Young master of the Hu Mansion, come and bark. A dog barking like this is worth 1,000 pieces of gold. And the laughter here also attracted the people around. Hey, isn't that Wang Feng who is ranked 54th on the ranking list? Who is the person opposite him? Wo Sao, why is that guy here? Who is it? Who else could it be? The shame of the academy. I haven't been to the competition field once in 3 years. I didn't expect to see him today. It's really a miracle. Wow, it's Lei Ting. Does he want to compete on stage when he comes here? Can his bones withstand a punch? Let's take a look. Each of these people looked at Lei Lei, revealing a bright light. There was another good show to watch. That Wang Feng was not an easy person to get along with. Lei Lei looked coldly, looked at the arrogant people in front of him, and said sarcastically, "Why, it's hard for you to do this as a dog. I don't know if it will embarrass your family. You are looking for death." Wang Feng's face turned red, he straightened his body, his eyes were as sharp as a knife and he stared at Thunder, and his voice sounded as harsh as ice. "You're such a piece of rubbish. Do you think you can be superior to others just because of your status as a marquis? In my eyes, you are worse than shit." Being ridiculed so unscrupulously, Lei Lei was really angry. "Very good. You are very good. You have successfully angered me. Don't you just want to compete with me? Then come on. Humph. If you want to fight, fight. Tell us about the time. I will be your nightmare at any time." Wang Feng smiled arrogantly, with an arrogant and provocative tone in his tone, and said with an arrogant smile, "I'm waiting for you to come. Die." Lei Lei's eyes were as cold as ice, staring coldly at the self-righteous guy in front of him, with a sarcastic arc at the corner of his mouth. He looked at the other party coldly, and then said disdainfully, "Since you are so eager to be beaten, let's do it now. Stop talking nonsense." There was a hint of disdain and ridicule in Lei Lei's tone, which was like an ice knife piercing Wang Feng's self-esteem. "Haha, great, arrogant people must have some capital." Wang Feng couldn't help but feel angry after being so despised by Lei Lei. Wang Feng roared angrily, his voice shaking in all directions, "You will know later what real pain is." The eyes of the onlookers were filled with excitement. They were all looking forward to this showdown without any suspense, and they were secretly amused. At the same time, they were all whispering, looking forward to the drama that was about to take place. Hee, now a good show is about to take place. Look, how long can Thunderbolt survive under Wang Feng? Someone speculated in a low voice. How long? Shouldn't it be one move in seconds? Another person sneered dismissively. At this time, the field was empty. Wang Feng rushed to the competition field without hesitation, pointed his sword at Thunder, and shouted, "Come up and die." It's Wang Feng. It's Wang Feng who is on the ranking list. As a figure on the ranking list, Wang Feng will naturally attract everyone's attention, and his appearance will naturally become the target of public criticism and cause an uproar. Who does he want to challenge? I don't know. We'll know just by looking at it. There will definitely be a fierce battle between Dragon and Tiger. Ha! Lei Lei snorted coldly, with an expressionless face, and walked slowly onto the competition stage, facing Wang Feng at a distance. When everyone finally recognized Lei Ting's figure, the originally boiling competition ground fell silent for a moment. It's him. It's Thunder. How is it possible that it's that good-for-nothing Thunder? A moment later, the whole place was in an uproar, which was unbelievable. He actually wants to challenge the masters on the rankings. Is he going to seek abuse? What is he going to fight against? Wang Zhen listened to everyone's discussion, squinted his eyes at Lei Lei playfully, and sneered, "Young master, let's see how you end it. Use your sword quickly. I want to see how much confidence you have to be so crazy." Wang Feng had a narrow smile on his face. Thinking of the promise given by Wang Zhen, he wanted to hit Lei Lei more and more fiercely. Trampled underfoot. The provocative smile grew even more. "Why, aren't you going to take action?" Looking at Lei Lei who was still motionless, Wang Feng frowned. Lei Lei looked at the arrogant Wang Feng and said calmly, "Who told you that my only opponent is you?" Before he finished speaking, Lei Lei glanced at everyone like an arrow, and finally locked his eyes on the few people with Wang Feng, and raised his fingers at them contemptuously. "Weren't you very good at boasting just now? Then come together." Quote. What did you say? Wang Feng was furious when he heard Lei Lei's contemptuous words. As a strong man on the ranking list. He calls himself a strong man, yet he is looked down upon by others. Facing the good-for-nothing Lei Lei, what could he do to fight him? He didn't even know whether life or death would happen and even proposed a group fight. Haha, okay, you are fine. Is this Thunder crazy? I don't have much strength to begin with, but when I face Wang Feng, I still have to fight in a group. Isn't it looking for death? Thunder's request made everyone's jaws drop, and everyone was dumbfounded. Such a request was unprecedented. Does Thunder think it can win the fight? Is this possible? Some people began to fantasize, but they all dismissed it. What, are you scared? Lei Lei looked at the silent people below and sneered at Wang Feng. If you want to die so much, then I will help you. Wang Feng was furious and shouted. then come together. I want to see if your mouth is so tough. Hee hee, when the time comes, don't cry for mercy. Wang Feng looked at Lei Lei sinisterly, holding his weapon tightly, his eyes as sharp as a knife. He actually despised him so much. He was determined to make the provocateur in front of him blood splattered on the spot. Boy, you are so brave. None of the top 10 in the rankings have such courage as you. The other 4 people jumped onto the competition stage, their eyes like ice blades, staring at Lei Lei coldly. Oh my god, they are all top players on the ranking list. Xu Gao ranked 68th. Sun Shi ranked 76th. Xu Hong ranked 79th. There is also 86 Zhang Kang. Is this thunder crazy? One person challenges 5 experts on the ranking list. If you are crazy, go home. This is not your place to play house. Horse, if you want to be beaten, get off. This scene astonished everyone. Their opponent was only Lei Lei. There was an uproar in the arena. Looking at the 5 people in the arena, everyone was extremely surprised. It is usually rare to see them, but today there are 5 people, and their opponents are just Lei Lei, who is known as the waste of the academy. Some people even mocked Thunder. But Lei Lei didn't pay attention to the commotion in the audience. Instead, he looked at his opponent indifferently, slowly raised his right hand, and shouted coldly, 5 people, more than 5 moves, I lose. What? You're looking for death. You, how dare you look down on us like this? Lei Lei's words instantly made them furious, and at the same time, they also shocked the people below. 5 moves. Did they hear wrongly? Okay, then I'll give you 5 moves to get you down. Wang Feng laughed ferociously, and his body suddenly rose from a static state, and his body pulled out a dark shadow on the competition field. The long sword in his hand exuded a cold light, slashing towards Thunder like lightning. What a fast speed. Although his character is not very good, I have to say that Wang Feng's strength has become stronger again. How to block? Is Lei Lei preparing to take a sword? However, at this moment, Lei Lei looked at the long sword that had been chopped off, and just sneered. With a calm expression, he suddenly stretched out his right hand and grabbed Wang Feng's long sword directly. Strange power explodes. At this scene, the whole place fell silent. Lei Ting was really crazy. Didn't he want to die? Wang Feng looked at Lei Lei's stretched out right hand, and a cruel sneer appeared at the corner of his mouth. The sword has no eyes. In the competition on the martial arts field, injuries are normal, and the academy will not pursue them, even if he is the eldest young master of the Hu Mansion. Use your hands to block the sword, haha. I think I have a chance to win. Wang Zhen's eyes lit up with excitement. He didn't expect that a casual promise would lead to such a wonderful drama. Catch the sword with your hand. Taking the sword with bare hands. What's going on in this stupid young master's head? Facing the long sword that was slashing away, you actually picked it up with your hand. In that flash of lightning, no one had time to think too much and didn't even dare to blink. And Thunder's right hand was already grasping the blade of the sword like lightning. For a moment, everyone looked at the field with wide eyes. It was extremely quiet, except for some girls who screamed. Wang Feng's ferocious face froze instantly. He only felt that the tiger's mouth was numb and the sword could no longer move. How is that possible? His eyes widened, he couldn't believe this situation at all. What did he see? The long sword was tightly clamped by Lei Ting's right hand, preventing him from moving even an inch. He didn't even have time to see the situation clearly. The figure in front of him flashed. Thunder's punch hit him hard in the stomach, and the terrifying power contained in that punch instantly knocked him away. Bang! Wang Feng's body hit the ground hard and rolled for several meters before coming to a stop. His body kept bending and twisting, screaming, obviously being severely injured by Thunder's punch. One move. At the same time, Thunder's faint voice sounded in the competition arena. Impossible. This, impossible. Seeing the sudden changes on the field, Wang Zhen was shocked and angry, his face twisted into a ball, completely unable to accept the facts in front of him. Seeing the struggling figure in the competition field, the audience outside the competition field were stunned. What just happened? It seemed that Lei Lei caught Wang Feng's sword blade with his bare hands, and then easily knocked Wang Feng down with one punch. With just one punch, Wang Feng lost his fighting ability and was defeated. Could it be that he was dazzled? Someone subconsciously rubbed his eyes. Oh my god, I read that right. Is it Wang Feng who fell to the ground? How did Lei Lei catch the frying blade with his bare hands? Isn't he a waste? Wang Feng, who was ranked 54th on the ranking list, was killed instantly. No, he couldn't even defeat a level 2 monster a month ago. Why did he suddenly become so powerful? When everyone heard these words, they felt chilled in their hearts. Can he grow up so fast in 1 month? Or is he deliberately hiding his clumsiness? At this time, the other 4 people in the competition field looked at Lei Lei, with fear in their eyes. They had witnessed the whole change just now. They knew Wang Feng's strength clearly, and the feeling of thunder to them was even more unfathomable. How could this be the result? Wang Zhen was surprised and angry. Thunder could actually defeat Wang Feng. And it was with just 1 move. How could this be? His original intention was to use Wang Feng's hand to humiliate Lei Lei, but he did not expect that the result would be so dramatic. Wang Zhen didn't dare to think any further for a moment. If the news about Lei Ting were reported back to the Hu mansion, then... At this time, his body trembled and his eyes were full of fear. It's your turn, there are 4 more moves. Lei Lei ignored their frightened looks and his cold voice sounded on the field. Why are you so scared? Otherwise, you just go and bark like a dog, and I will let you go. Thunder's voice rang out on the court, and he responded to them with what he just said, instantly making everyone in the audience laugh. The faces of the 4 people tensed up instantly, and their faces turned pale. They looked at each other, nodded at the same time, and moved forward in unison. They are also prestigious figures in the academy, how could they be so insulted? Besides, they haven't lost yet, it's just 4 moves, right? As long as they don't underestimate the enemy like Wang Feng, the 4 of them can survive the 4 attacks no matter what. They no longer dare to expect to beat the Thunder, they just think about how to lose without being too ugly. Let's go together and see what else he can do. Okay, attack with all your strength. The 4 people shouted loudly at the same time, and the fighting spirit in their bodies instantly exploded. They held weapons in their hands and quickly strangled towards Thunder. Intermediate swordsman. Lei Lei felt the power. They burst out and snorted coldly. Since you are willing to be his pawns, you will pay a heavy price. Looking at the figures of the 4 people strangled, Lei Lei's figure did not waver or dodge. In his eyes, the 4 people who rushed over were too slow. The 4 people looked at Lei Lei's motionless figure, with a touch of excitement in their eyes. Faced with the cooperation of the 4 people, Lei Lei was actually so powerful. Arrogant guy, let me show you my true strength on the rankings today. 4 sword shadows instantly enveloped the Thunder. Lei Lei sneered and shouted, Humph, you're making nonsense. Too bad, too slow, too slow, too slow. When a sword struck, Lei Ting's upper body tilted slightly, and the sword blade scratched along his clothes. Seeing that the sword failed, Xu Gao wanted to continue attacking, but was punched in the chest by Lei Ting. Second move. Ah! Xu Gao's eyes widened and he screamed. It felt like his chest was violently hit by a heavy force, and his body flew backwards in an instant. Bang! Xu Gao's body hit the ground heavily, struggling and screaming. This thunder punch did not use all its strength, and it did not even use any strange power. After all, it was an academy competition, so there was no need to be too cruel. At the same time, Sun Shi swept towards him from the right. Lei Ting's right hand reached out and instantly clamped the sword's blade, preventing it from advancing even an inch. It's too slow to draw the sword. Before Sun Shi could react, Lei Lei swung his right hand. Sun Shi instantly felt pulled by a huge force, and his body suddenly became unstable and leaned forward. The third move. In Sun's horrified eyes, Thunder punched his body hard. Bang! Sun Shi immediately followed Xu Gao's footsteps and flew out. Whoosh! Both weapons slashed at him. Don't you have any milk? You don't have any strength. The fourth move, the fifth move. Bang! Bang! The third figure and the fourth figure flew out instantly while screaming. Xu Hong and Zhang Kang fell to the ground at the same time. Thunder stood on the fighting field. At this time, he stood still with a sharp momentum. Everyone in the audience was silent. Looking at the figures falling down one by one, they seemed numb. It's too strong, it's too scary. Is this still the shame of that academy? Are you saying that he is a disgrace to the academy and makes us ashamed? They are just like animals. Their power is so terrifying. Have you noticed that Lei Lei defeated them with just the strength of his body, without spending any extravagance, and his punches hit the mark? Isn't that guy born with supernatural power? How can that thin body produce such terrifying power? Even senior swordsman Wang Feng can't withstand a punch. This guy's power is so terrifying. Wow Sao, have you noticed that Lei Lei has not moved since the fight started? He has been standing there, even if he moves a small step. Suddenly, there was a roar on the field, which made everyone present look stunned. After hearing this, everyone turned their attention to where Lei Ting was. Sure enough, the sight in front of them made them stunned. Lei Ting came on stage with just a few punches, no gorgeous fighting, and he still stood motionless on the spot. This scene made them secretly think about how terrifying Thunder's strength is. Looking at Lei Lei's tall and straight figure with solemn eyes, some people couldn't help but say, this guy is definitely not a simple person. That's right, although there was no thrilling battle, each of his punches was full of unparalleled power and skills. Faced with the siege from many parties, whether it was dodging or punching, he showed superb skills and his mastery of basic martial arts. The understanding is even more profound. After this battle, the Thunder may be able to hit the top 5 positions. Indeed, it's so powerful. Haha, those who didn't come to watch this fight will probably regret it. Everyone was full of expectations for Thunder's performance, and everyone looked excited. They seemed to have seen a dark horse rising in the academy and making a mark. As bursts of applause rang out on the competition field, although there was no thrilling battle, it was enough to make them willing to cheer for the winner in the field. At this time, Wang Zhen felt panic in his heart. Looking at Lei Lei, who was completely different from the other 2 people on the field, was he really hiding his clumsiness? Then his purpose is, no, I have to tell the young master about this as soon as possible. Thinking of this, Wang Zhen's gloomy face turned and left without hesitation, without even looking at Wang Feng and others who were struggling on the stage. Snort. Lei Lei snorted coldly, looked at Wang Zhen who left with deep eyes, and slowly walked out under the cheers in the competition arena, following Wang Zhen closely. And this battle spread throughout the entire academy like a whirlwind, causing a huge sensation, although there were more doubts. At the same time, Thunder ranked 54th in the college rankings and qualified for the competition. College Luxury Villa. At this time, Lei Ming was sitting cross-legged with his eyes closed, exuding a majestic aura from his whole body. He had broken through to become a great swordsman 2 days ago, and now he was calmly doing his best to stabilize his cultivation. However, there was a sudden knock on the closed door. Lei Ming slowly opened his eyes, a sharp cold light flashed in his eyes, and said in a low voice, "Come in." The door was pushed open, and Wang Zhen rushed in as if he had lost his soul, completely unaware of Lei Ming's eyes as cold as ice. "Young master, something bad has happened. Young master, he is not useless at all. He has been hiding his strength," Wang Zhen said, panting. After hearing this, Lei Ming's breath suddenly became serious. Then, his face changed, and in anger, with a bang, the tyrannical power instantly caused the floor of the room to shatter. "What did you say?" Lei Ming frowned. Wang Zhen looked at the broken ground, his eyes widened in fright, and he took half a step back. Looking at the young master with an unkind expression, but in fear, he still hesitated and said, "Young master, today I met the eldest young master at the competition ground. I originally wanted to let Wang Feng and the others take the opportunity to humiliate the eldest young master and let him stay in the palace. The position of the government is even more embarrassing, but..." At this point, Wang Zhen's face became horrified. "Just what?" Lei Ming said in a low voice with a gloomy face, with a biting look in his eyes. Wang Feng didn't even have a chance to resist in front of the young master. He was instantly killed by the young master with one punch. That terrifying power. Wang Zhen thought of Wang Feng's struggling body on the martial arts competition stage and the figure of the young master catching the sword with his bare hands, and he hesitated to speak. "Now there are many rumors in the college. What did you say?" Lei Ming looked at Wang Zhen's hesitant look and shouted immediately. "It's said to be a natural divine power." Natural power. Lei Ming was shocked and angry at his eldest brother's sudden change. What was surprising was that his good brother had hidden himself so deeply and was only exposed at this moment. What makes him angry is that although his natural divine power is not as good as the holy body, it is still much more terrifying than an ordinary body, and he actually has it. Lei Ming's face was gloomy and terrifying. He never thought that in the past 10 years, Lei Ming could disguise himself so well that he would not even hesitate to be injured by a monster. Why is the elder brother doing this? Since he is born with divine power, his talent is naturally not bad. Coupled with his status as the young master of the Hu Mansion, he will definitely be vigorously cultivated by the Hu Mansion. Or maybe he deliberately concealed it. Impossible, the young man's mind is definitely not that mature. Could it be said that he didn't wake up the day after tomorrow? If it's the latter, that's terrible. He felt both shocked and angry. Thinking of this, Lei Ming slammed his palm on the table. With a bang, the table shattered, completing its mission. If this is really the case. At this moment, Lei Ming has never been so uneasy in his heart. He never thought that his eldest brother would hide so deeply. Outside the villa, on the tree crown near the window, thunder was hidden among the branches. He looked through the window, his eyes like a torch, like a cunning wolf, calm and composed. Wang Zhen looked at Lei Ming's silence and asked cautiously, "But, young master, what should we do now?" Wang Zhen's words undoubtedly stimulated Lei Ming. Lei Ming clenched his fists, cracking his knuckles, and his expression was terrifyingly gloomy. The anger in his eyes seemed to burn the world. So what if you are born with divine power? This world ultimately depends on your cultivation talent. The higher your talent, the further you will naturally go. I am thunderous and extremely talented. No one can stop me. He suddenly smiled wildly, and his confidence and domineering power instantly shocked everyone. Yes, young master, my wife was very happy when she heard that you had broken through to the great swordsman. She specially prepared the green lotus fruit to consolidate your cultivation. Wang Zhen said with an envious look, green lotus fruit, although it is not as good as 7-star fruit, it is not far behind. Although the green lotus fruit cannot help people break through the level of cultivation, it can quickly strengthen and consolidate the cultivation level. It is definitely a great tonic for those who have just broken through the cultivation level. When Lei Ming heard this, his eyes flashed. Green lotus fruit. Okay. Yes, young master, people from the Hu Mansion will send it over at noon in 2 days. After you refine the green lotus fruit, your strength will only get better. In the college competition. Outside, Lei, who was hiding in the tree, heard this and his eyes brightened. Green lotus fruit, what a good thing. He who is riding a horse is really biased. He will give this guy whatever good things he has. In this case, there is no need for him to be polite and take it in his hand. Thinking of this, Lei became angry in his heart, and the anger in his heart suddenly came up. His body moved subconsciously, and the branches under his feet suddenly swayed. Inside the house, Lei Ming sensed something unusual, and the sound was like thunder. Not good. Lei's heart trembled, and the seal quietly disappeared in an instant. Immediately afterwards, Lei Ming's figure broke out of the door in an instant. Looking at the swaying branches outside, his eyes became sharp. Master. Wang Zhen rushed out soon after, looked up at the branches swaying in the wind, and said with a puzzled expression, "Master, it should be the strange noise caused by the wind." Really? Lei Ming frowned. Could it be that he was really too nervous? With his speed, there was no way the man could run out of his sight. Is it really an accident as Wang Zhen said? Lei Ming observed closely and found nothing unusual. He was about to turn around and walk into the house. His body suddenly stopped and he said to the person next to him, "Wang Zhen, chop down that tree." Yes. 2 days later, the morning sun had just risen. Lei left the academy alone early. His speed was very fast, and he was on the only way to the academy from the imperial capital in just a moment. Moreover, when he left the academy, in order not to attract attention, he also transformed into an ordinary student from the academy. If you come here at this time, you won't miss it, right? Lei raised his eyes and scanned the road, stopping at a resting place for business travelers. It was sparsely populated and there was no need to worry about being missed by the Lei family. After waiting like this for a long time, the sun became hotter and hotter, and there was a sound of horse hooves in the distance, and Lei immediately looked over there. There was a commotion on the road, and there were faint traces of people moving. It's finally here. Lei's heart suddenly beat faster with excitement. I've been waiting for so long just for this moment. The figure quickly appeared on the roadside and completed the seal at the same time. Shadow Clone Jutsu. Another figure immediately appeared aside, nodded to it, and began to form seals at the same time. Transformation. Bang. Lei Ming's figure suddenly turned into Lei Ming, and Shadow Clone turned into Wang Zhen, disguised as Lei Ming's master and servant, and followed Lei Ming. This way, everything is foolproof. Lei glanced at the hidden clone, and found the most appropriate solution to obtain the green lotus fruit through deception. He would not snatch it unless absolutely necessary. As the sound of thunder fell, the sound of horse hooves got closer and closer, and then a dozen figures rode quickly towards them. The leader was a middle-aged man. When he saw the two figures in front, a look of surprise and confusion appeared on his face. However, he still waved one hand and the team stopped instantly, showing his superb training quality. The middle-aged man quickly dismounted his horse, knelt on one leg, and said respectfully, "Master, it's really you." The dozen or so people behind the middle-aged man dismounted their horses and knelt on one leg in unison at the same time. Their loud and orderly voices resounded on the avenue. Lei's eyes swept over these people, and finally rested on the middle-aged man in front of him. His eyes shrank slightly and he said lightly, "I didn't expect that I would meet Uncle Lei Ziliang here. You guys or was it sent by mother?" "That's right, young master, it was the madam who ordered it herself. Lei Ziliang is one of the guard commanders of the Hu Mansion and a powerful swordsman." Lei never expected that the woman would actually send her confidants in the Hu Mansion over to ensure that everything was safe. However, it is a bit good for the thunder. If a stranger is arranged, the situation will be more troublesome. "Thank you for your hard work, just give me the things directly. I happen to be practicing outside, so I don't have to run to the academy." Hearing this, Lei Ziliang didn't ask any more questions. He would never admit his mistake with Lei Ming's appearance, and even Wang Zhen was behind him, so there would be no problem. He quickly bowed forward, took out an exquisite wooden box from his arms, held it up with both hands, and said cautiously, "Young master, this is the item for this escort. I dare not be careless and hand it over to you personally." After taking the wooden box, Lei's heart was filled with excitement, and the system was awakened in his mind at the same time. 9 speakers, scan. "Okay, host, scanning. Green lotus fruit detected." When Lei heard the system test results, he nodded slightly. Of course he understood what Lei Ziliang said, and he smiled and said, "Haha. Okay, I will tell my mother the truth. I miss you so much, master." Lei Ziliang nodded quickly, with a touch of excitement on his face. He just wanted this result. "Haha, since it has been handed over to me, you can go back to the Marquis Mansion and tell my mother that I will definitely shine in the college competition and give her a surprise." Lei waved goodbye. "Yes, master." Lei Ziliang responded respectfully, and then slowly backed away. After getting close to his mount, he waved his hand and led more than a dozen well-trained guards to mount their horses at the same time. Then they turned their horses' heads uniformly and rushed towards the imperial capital. Watching the team disappear before his eyes and looking at the wooden box in his hand, Lei suddenly laughed wildly. It took no effort at all. I wonder if Lei Ming will still look so calm when he finds out. His eyes flickered slightly, and after a moment, Lei whispered, 9 trumpets, how much contribution can be exchanged for the green lotus fruit?" Lei's eyes brightened, and he couldn't wait. "Host, the green lotus fruit can be exchanged for 15,000 contribution points. Do you want to exchange it?" "Wowsow, 15,000. Upon hearing the exchange value reported by Zhu Xiaoxiao, Lei's eyes suddenly widened and he took a breath of cold air. Is this even justified? Exchange it immediately. Lei almost roared. Labor and management were fighting for life and death, and for just a small amount of contribution, the value of a rare treasure is actually so high. What about the 7-star fruit that is even more valuable? Thunder suddenly became excited. Okay host, the exchange was successful. The wooden box in his hand suddenly disappeared from Lei Ting's hands, as if it had never appeared before. 9 speakers, open the property bar. Okay, host. Level. Special Jonin experience. 21,300 300,000ths. Name, Thunder. HP value, 500 500ths. Spiritual value, 6,000 6,000ths. Ninjutsu. 3 body technique, instant body technique, great fireball technique, healing technique, water body technique, earth style, earth stone dragon, fire style, fire dragon flame bullet, lightning style, thunder ball, fire style, phoenix sage fire technique, shadow clone technique, water iron cannon technique. Taijutsu. Taijutsu grandmaster, strange power. Blood succession limit. Magnet style, primary immortal body. Contribution value. 53,978. With 50,000 contribution points, you can exchange for an A-level ninjutsu. Should you choose Chidori or Rasengan? Lei thought about this and suddenly began to ponder. Chidori and Rasengan are the more representative ninjutsu in Hokage. At the same time, the Chidori style series and the Rasengan series were derived. Both ninjutsu have their own advantages. Although Rasengan is more powerful, the contribution value of only 50,000 made him make an immediate choice. 9 horns, learn Chidori. Okay, host, redeem lightning style, Chidori, consume 40,000 contribution points, redeem successfully. What a great harvest. Lei Ming felt the information in his mind and sighed. He never thought that accidentally eavesdropping on Lei Ming's conversation would lead to such a big gain. As for how Lei Ming will react when he discovers something is wrong, that is their business and has nothing to do with him. However, I still haven't exchanged it for Rasengan. Although it's a bit regretful, it's enough at this stage. There is still a long way to go, work hard. Lei encouraged himself and prepared to go back to the academy. He wanted to see the reaction of Lei Ming and others after they discovered what happened. However, Lei, who was just about to start, suddenly stopped and his expression changed. There is an abnormality in the mini-map. Lei watched as a small red dot suddenly appeared on the small map. Warcraft. Lei was a little surprised. This was not a place rarely visited by people, but due to the existence of the academy, almost all the nearby monsters had been cleared away. He couldn't help but look up. That's. His eyes suddenly lit up. Lei looked at the green-winged beetle flying over quickly, and his eyes suddenly showed a sharp look. Green-winged beetle. Is it finally here? Lei looked at the green-winged beetle with anticipation, and his fighting spirit suddenly ignited in his heart. Cover. Thunder said to the shadow clone, and then threw the small bag containing the green-winged beetle to shadow clone, and then his figure disappeared from the place, perfectly hidden. After just a cup of tea, a traveler's figure appeared in Lei's eyes, making him look surprised. Big celebrity. Only one person. Lei was hidden in the canopy of the trees. He narrowed his eyes and looked at the figure that appeared, and his heart sank. Could it be another contact person? Lei did not rush to take action, but decided to observe first. They didn't kill me in Sunset Canyon. How could they underestimate me so much this time? Lei felt a little funny. He failed to succeed again and again. This time, he directly arranged for someone from the killer organization. There should be more than just this person. The group of bandits were killed and their strength has been exposed. They should know. Is it the great swordsman or the swordsman who leads the team this time? Lei guessed. These are experience points delivered to your door, and some people are looking forward to them. The man saw the beetles hovering around Shadow Clone and slowly walked over. Who are you? The man stopped 30 meters away from Shadow Clone, looked at Shadow Clone up and down, and asked with a little doubt. Shadow Clone did not answer, but grinned at him. Ah, I'm sorry, I got the wrong person. The man's face changed slightly, and he showed an embarrassed expression to the hidden clone, then turned around and left quickly without hesitation. Interesting, the secret was exposed. Lei's eyes narrowed, but he did not take action immediately, but looked at the figure who was leaving quickly. Then the seal disappeared into the tree and followed. In fact, after the man walked forward for a while and found that no one was following him, he quickly ran into the woods on the roadside and jumped towards the west. However, he didn't realize that he was being followed. Although I am very vigilant, but... Lei squatted on the tree and watched the man's movements, tracking his movements with disdain. Not long after, the man suddenly passed through a dense bush, where 2 figures were taking a short rest. Are we here yet? Lei stopped quickly, with a serious expression on his face, because there were 3 other people hiding in the dark. If it weren't for the small map, it would be difficult to find them. Lei sighed inwardly. Through the gaps in the leaves, he carefully found the person hiding in the dark. Trigger the mission, kill the enemy in front of you, and be rewarded with 10,000 experience points and 5,000 contribution points. Hearing the sound of the 9 loudspeakers in his mind, Lele's face suddenly showed excitement, and he stared at the people in front of him. A swordsman, 4 great swordsmen, then looked at a man wearing a robe and holding a staff. His eyes suddenly shrank, and his heartbeat couldn't help but accelerate. He is actually a great magician. What a generous act. Even such an elite magician is involved, and this killer team configuration is simply top-notch. The magician's first kill should be rewarded a lot. Lele thought to himself, his eyes becoming extremely bright. How did they think that they actually trained a magician to be a killer? However, this is cheaper for him. Seeing that his presence was not found, his chance came again. Let's make a sneak attack first. Lele's eyes were fixed on the figure in front of him, and he slowly and quietly approached. Who? The man's intrusion instantly woke them up and put them on guard. However, after seeing the person coming, they breathed a sigh of relief at the same time. The man looked at the 5 people who were wary of him at the same time. The experienced man hurriedly stopped and said with an ugly face, "Snake, the mission failed." A thin and capable figure frowned. This person was the one who accepted the assassination mission in the courtyard of the imperial capital. His code name in the killer organization is Snake, and as the leader of this team, he is also called the Snake Team. The snake looked at the borer in front of him with a sullen expression, and said coldly, "Borm, what's going on? Where's the green-winged beetle?" Snake, the person green-winged beetle found, was not a secret agent. He didn't even know the code words. He said in a deep voice, "Don't you know the code word?" Hearing this, Snake's face changed slightly and said, "No, we were exposed." "Snake, don't worry, it's not like he's ambushing us, nor is he following us." He hesitated for a moment. He knew what the snake meant and quickly explained. The snake interrupted the borer with a serious look, then glanced at the others, and finally fixed his eyes on the magician, and said, "Wing, follow me, plan 3. No, someone is coming." The great magician suddenly raised his head and looked in the direction of thunder, and immediately started shouting. Although it was covered by trees, his mental power clearly felt weak power fluctuations. Lele, who was about 40 meters away from these people, quickly circled around. When he heard the roar of the great magician, his expression changed. "Wow, Sao, we have been discovered." The distance of 40 meters was too far and was not within the attack range of ninjutsu. Lele instantly gave up the plan of sneak attack and charged with all his strength. Thunder's figure was like lightning, quickly jumping out and rushing towards the figure in front. While jumping out, he quickly formed seals with his hands. 30 meters, 20 meters. What? Snake's expression suddenly changed. He looked at the figure that was rushing toward him quickly, grabbed Yi, and shouted, "Hide." Borer's face was also extremely ugly. At this time, he knew that he had been deceived. The terrifying crisis enveloped them instantly. 10 meters. Looking at the figure who had reacted so close, he prepared the ninjutsu and used it instantly. Fire style. Fire Dragon Flame Bullet. Boom. The ferocious fire dragon spit out from Thunder's mouth and roared towards the figure in front. The terrifying power erupted in the forest in an instant, and the tall trees were directly burned, with endless flames impacting around. But Snake and the others also reacted very quickly, rushing out tens of meters in a very short time and escaping from the fire dragon's attack range. Under the illumination of the flames, Lele's figure was instantly captured by the snake, with an angry and ferocious smile on his face. They have always attacked others secretly, but now they were attacked secretly in their temporary stronghold. "Surround him. Kill him," Snake shouted directly, turned around quickly, and rushed towards Thunder, with a pair of cold eyes filled with murderous intent. No matter what the reason for the visitor is, since he has been followed, he will never be allowed to leave alive. Whoosh! The figure of 6 paths moved quickly, and when it was close to Thunder, it suddenly stopped at the critical point of 15 meters away. Snake stared at the figure in front of him, his eyes shrank, and then brightened instantly. Chapter 91. Snake looked at the young man in front of him and felt unspeakable shock for a moment. "It's you." Seeing that the man was exactly the same as the one in the portrait, Snake shouted in shock. He never thought that this man would be so bold and dared to follow him single-handedly. A touch of excitement flashed under the indifferent eyes, and his heart was beating loudly, not only because of the accident but also because of a trembling excitement. He did not expect that the person coming was actually the target of his mission this time. The snake looked a little weird. "You are so brave, you dared to come here alone." Snake suppressed the excitement in his heart, and his words seemed to be sarcastic. Lei Lei didn't pay attention to their surroundings, nor did he panic. He stood there as calm as a rock, with no trace of panic on his delicate face, but a hint of amusement on his face. Instead, his eyes swept over these killers indifferently, and finally rested on the snake. His smiling face instantly turned to ice, and he asked, "Are you hired to kill me?" Lei Lei's words were very cold, with deep murderous intent in them. "That's right, the person who killed you." The long knife in the snake's hand pointed at the thunder, and the gloomy voice also contained cold killing intent, leaving only the obsession that would not give up until the goal was achieved. Not only was Lei Lei not angry, but he asked calmly, "There are many people who want to kill me. Who asked you to come? If I kill you, I will tell you naturally." "Kill." Snake didn't say much, he spoke cleanly, and his figure suddenly sprang out, waving the cold blade to kill thunder. At the same time, murderous killers were strangled from 3 directions of thunder. But there was no trace of panic on Lei Lei's face, and he revealed a sneer, "Then I will defeat you." Lei Lei looked at the blade getting closer and closer, and seemed to be able to feel the cold light on it. The situation seemed to be very critical. Replacement technique. The moment the weapon was cut down, the ninjutsu prepared at that moment was also activated. Snake's smile that was about to succeed suddenly froze, and Thunder's figure instantly turned into a piece of wood in his eyes, and at the same time, it also captured energy fluctuations. His expression suddenly changed, he turned around quickly and shouted, "Yi, be careful behind you." "Hey, magician." The moment Lei Lei's figure appeared, his eyes locked on the magician. This was the first time he faced a magician in this world, and Lei Lei was a little excited. Don't know what's the difference between magic and ninjutsu. However, following the snake's reminder, the great magician and the killer responsible for covering him turned around at the same time. The reaction speed and combat experience are really rich. Lei Lei laughed as their eyes met, not afraid of the opponent's strength. "That's because he's stronger. Come on, let me see the power of the great magician." "Shameless brat, your magic is very strong, but today is the day you die." The corner of Yi's mouth curled up, and he waved his staff at Thunder, releasing the magic he prepared instantly. Great Fireball Technique. Boom. The basketball-sized fireball rapidly expanded in the air and then headed towards Thunder. This is the level 4 Great Fireball Technique. Lei Lei did not dodge, looking at the fireball that expanded to about 2 meters, a sneer appeared on his face. "Too small, too weak, too weak. Show you what a great fireball is." As Lei Ting finished speaking, he also completed the seal on his hand. Fire Style. Great Fireball Technique. What does magic do to ninjutsu? Although they are all fire-based attacks and the levels cannot be distinguished, the comparison effect of level 4 magic against sea-level ninjutsu is obvious after using it. Great Fireball Technique vs Great Fireball Technique. They are also fireball attacks. Almost instantly, a raging flame burst out from Thunder's mouth. Compared with the Great Fireball, the 4-meter-large Great Fireball is much stronger in terms of momentum and the lethality of the flames. It instantly swallows and fuses the fireball, and then blasts it forward. The combination of the two makes the power of the Great Fireball even more ferocious, and all its terrifying power explodes, moving forward without any hindrance. Wherever he passed, there was a sea of fire. Impossible. Wing stood there, looking horrified at the fireballs that were blasting towards him, and roared, his eyes widening, and his sharp voice full of disbelief. This was the first time he had seen such a powerful fireball in his life. Not even a magister could use it. It's not that they don't want to use a bigger fireball, but the size of the Great Fireball Technique has reached the limit of the magician's control. If the fireball gets bigger, it will lose control and backfire on the magician. But that boy had broken the common sense of magic. How could he control such a large fireball? Why are you so stunned? Just hide. Just as Zai stared blankly at the incoming fireball, the killer responsible for protecting him grabbed him and hurriedly jumped to avoid it. However, the power contained in the Great Fireball fused with the Great Fireball was too powerful. Even if they escaped the fireball, they were still affected by the scorching power when the fireball bombarded the ground. For a moment, the bodies of the two men rolled and flew out, hitting the ground in an extremely embarrassing situation. As for the killer who was protecting the wings, his energy and blood surged even more, and a trace of blood flowed from the corner of his mouth. Yi, what are you doing? Are you going to kill Feng? Snake's figure appeared next to them, glanced at Feng with blood at the corner of his mouth, and yelled at Yi, who was still in a daze. Yi suddenly woke up, looked at Lei Lei, his eyes were like a torch, then grabbed the snake and said excitedly, "Snake, promise me, catch him, catch him. You know, he broke the theory of magic. Yi, if you want to catch him, you have to go all out." Snake looked at Lei Lei with a solemn expression, but there was a deep chill in his smile. Snake stood up straight and said in a deep voice, "He is very strong. He doesn't care what magic theory he has, that person is really strong." No wonder the adults arranged for them to complete this task, which was completely inconsistent with the information they had. "What, you want to catch me?" Under the light of the fire, Lei Lei's smile became brighter, but his tone was even colder. "Do you have the strength?" Hearing this, Snake's face changed slightly, and his eyes were fixed on that young face. It was hard for him to imagine how someone at such an age could have such strong strength. "Snake, I understand. I will take the opportunity to take action. As long as it is delayed, he will not be able to sustain a long-term battle." Yi also woke up at this time, holding the staff tightly in his hand, although his heart was full of doubts. But at this moment, facing the strength of the thunder, they could only go all out. Treat every opponent with caution. This is the purpose of their snake team, to complete every mission. Even if they encounter a great swordsman, they can still deal with it. "It's up, brothers, be careful." Snake shouted loudly. His fighting spirit was high, and his figure was like an arrow from the string, heading straight towards the thunder. The moment the snake's figure rushed out, Borer and the other two figures suddenly shot out. Strong fighting spirit surged in their hearts, and they quickly killed towards the thunder. Under the illumination of the fire, Lei Lei's figure was looming. Looking at the figures getting closer and closer, Lei Lei could even see smiles on their faces that were about to succeed. Act recklessly. When Yi saw this, a sneer appeared at the corner of his mouth, and he felt contempt for Lei Lei for being so supportive. At the same time, Snake frowned slightly, showing confusion for a moment, but soon relaxed. He felt a little puzzled that Lei Ting was so trusting and chose to fight against the five of them with one person, but then he confirmed his suspicion and thought that this was just because Lei Ting's newborn calves were not afraid of tigers. He believes more in the strength of himself and his teammates. In this case, he had nothing to worry about and immediately shouted, "Kill." Behind him, the three killers, including Zhu, who were strangulating together, moved toward Thunder to outflank him. Their whole bodies were filled with murderous intent, their eyes were sharp, and they showed no fear. Yi Zheng is holding the staff in his hand, the fire is surging, and he is ready to hit the target at any time. Lei Lei looked at the neat cooperation of the killers, and it was even more flawless. He was worthy of being trained by the killer organization. He secretly admired the opponent's strength and tacit understanding. As he became more and more wary of their offensive, he felt endless fighting spirit and murderous intention in his heart. "Hee. In that case, I'll take action on you first." Looking at the four people who came to behead him, he shouted coldly, "Death." Forming seals with both hands, a powerful force surged out, and the prepared ninjutsu was used instantly. Magnet style, sand iron waves. In the forest, a huge black wave rose from the ground. Faced with such a powerful blow from thunder, Snake was immediately frightened. At the moment when the waves of sand and iron gathered together, he felt an unprecedented sense of crisis. What they saw was the huge black wave rising into the sky, like a whirlwind, with a terrifying whistling sound, rolling straight towards them. This was obviously Lei Lei's intention to wait for them to attack. The unprecedented crisis made Snake's mood suddenly stirred up. His pupils shrank and he shouted, "No! It's a trap, avoid it." Everyone looked at the huge wave of sand and iron in shock, their pupils shrank violently, and there was boundless fear. A breath of death filled the hearts of several people. What is this? Oh my God, is this still magic? Impossible, is there such magic? Snake, Yi and others were shocked. They screamed in horror, and their hearts were filled with turmoil. The scene in front of them was beyond their understanding. At the same time, the figure turned around crazily and jumped back quickly, but they were too far forward. "Be careful, defend with all your strength," Snake shouted, looking at the huge black shadow that was about to sweep over. Under this situation, they could no longer escape, and the only thing they could do was to defend with all their strength. "Drink." The snake's voice spread around, and the other 4 killers hurriedly gathered their fighting spirit after hearing it. Boom. Powerful fighting spirit gathered on their long knives, and their bodies retreated to meet the attack of the wave of sand and iron. Bang! The waves of sand and iron finally collided with the long knives of Snake and the others, making a loud noise, and the exploding sand and iron cut through the sky, like a bomb exploding, resounding in the forest. However, the resistance of Snake and others only lasted for a moment, and their bodies were blown away by the huge waves of sand and iron like kites with broken strings. The tyrannical impact force caused Snake and the others to rush up. After being violently washed away by sand and iron, there were countless shocking blood marks on their bodies, with blood splattering everywhere. In the aftermath of the power, Snake and the others vomited blood crazily, were seriously injured and flew out, falling into the ruins, sending up billowing dust and smoke. How is it possible? Snake looked at Thunder in disbelief. It was unbelievable that such a powerful attack could be caused by someone's bare hands. They struggled to stand up, but their bodies had been severely damaged and they had completely lost their strength. They looked at Thunder, their eyes full of fear and horror. They had no idea that this young man could be so strong. This guy doesn't look like a human at all, and his strength is not at the level of a great swordsman. Huge waves suddenly arose in the hearts of Snake and the others. This. Yi was even more stunned, his eyes almost popped out, he couldn't believe what he saw. Is this really magic? His throat trembled, and he looked at the iron sand under his feet and said in fear. Can you control the magic of sand and iron? Simply unheard of. Yi couldn't believe what was happening in front of him. His heart was filled with fear and surprise of the unknown. The power and magic displayed by Thunder were too powerful and completely beyond his expectation. Whether it's magic or anything else, you all have to die today. Lei Lei looked at the miserable Snake and others, smiled coldly, and murderous intent suddenly emerged in his heart. His body immediately rushed towards them, and at the same time he quickly formed seals with his hands to kill you while you were sick. Fire style, Phoenix Sage fire technique. Then a fireball the size of a millstone blasted towards the man who fell on the ground. No, it's a magic attack. Snake was shocked, and he struggled to stand up. Of course he was not afraid of the fireball attack, but the others were not. His eyes were full of tension and worry, they were hurt too much. At this time, Shu and the others were struggling painfully, unable to escape the bombardment of the fireballs. Leave it to me. Wing looked at the half-meter-sized fireball and took action instantly. He waved the staff in his hand, and the flames all around him quickly condensed in the air. However, before they could condense into shape, he saw another unforgettable scene. I saw that the fireballs were like lit firecrackers, being spit out by the Thunder one after another, at a very fast speed. In the blink of an eye, 9 fireballs were released. Could this be? Wings was stunned, he couldn't believe what he saw in front of him, his mouth opened wide, and he yelled suddenly. This is impossible, it must be a visual error, otherwise how can you use magic that is higher than their level? Danny fell into deep doubts and confusion, full of disbelief. Watching the fireball blasting towards Snake and the others, he shook his head bitterly. It's actually a level 6 magic, a chain of fireballs. Wing's eyes widened, his waving magic wand and jerky spells stopped, and even the condensed flames began to dissipate. Wing, what are you doing? Quick, defense magic, save people. Yi didn't have time to marvel, because the snake's roar sounded in his ears, and he quickly waved his magic wand, and the jerky spell sounded again. Fire curtain. Suddenly, a huge curtain of fire formed in front of Snake and the others, and fireballs the size of millstones blasted over continuously. Boom! The first fireball dented the fire curtain, and then the second fireball directly blasted the fire curtain into a crack, and surging fire waves spurted out from the crack. Boom! After a violent sound, the third fireball directly shattered the fire curtain. The flames spread. How is it possible that the level 5 defensive magic has been broken? Yi watched in horror as the fire wall was shattered by the thunder's fireballs, and a trace of despair emerged in his heart. Although fire defensive magic is not a very strong defensive magic, it should not be a big problem against fireballs. How could it be broken so easily with such power? What kind level of magic is this? Today, Wing's understanding of magic has completely collapsed. It was too late for him to take action, and he could only watch as the continuous fireballs hit his teammates at the same time. Feng saves people. Seeing that the defensive magic was broken, Snake's expression turned deadly. The magic used by Lei Ting had far exceeded his expectations. At this time, he couldn't care so much anymore. Regardless of his physical discomfort, he swung his knife towards the fireball. Well, break it for me. Boom boom. There were 3 loud noises, and the 3 fireballs that came from the attack were instantly split in half, but before he could breathe a sigh of relief, the remaining fireballs broke through his interception and killed the 3 people behind him. Is it too late? Snake looked at the fireball that broke through his interception, a trace of despair flashed in his eyes. At the critical moment, a figure flashed across the battlefield like lightning. It's the peak. Feng waved the weapon in his hand without hesitation, and a burst of fighting spirit instantly slashed towards the fireball. Boom! The fireball burst in response. When Snake saw the peak coming, his anxious heart instantly calmed down. When the crisis was resolved, he instantly locked onto Thunder. Feng, kill him together. There was a look of indifference on the snake's face, and his eyes were as cold as a pool, which even made people shudder. This was the first time that the snake team encountered such a big crisis. 3 people were seriously injured at the same time, and they could only save them by killing the target. The 2 of them slashed towards Lei, but Lei, who was standing there, suddenly moved. Hey, well done. Looking at the 2 people who came to kill him again, Lei sneered and disappeared from the snake's sight like a ghost. What? Snake and Feng looked stunned, and Snake immediately felt that something was not good. Want to escape? This must never happen. No, what does this guy want to do? Snake thought to himself, feeling that something was wrong. Then he glanced at Yi from the corner of his eye and was suddenly startled. His first reaction was that Thunder's target was the wing behind him. Wing, be careful of sneak attacks. Snake shouted, without hesitation, turned around instantly and jumped towards Yi. However, the snake was wrong again. It was not expected that the Thunder's real target was not Wing. For Thunder, although the magician is a great threat, it is easy to get rid of the great magician's wings. His real target is still the killers who fell on the ground, and he cannot let go of any of them. The snake's departure caused the defense to open wide, and Thunder seized the opportunity in an instant. Go to hell. In the sea of fire, Thunder's figure suddenly appeared not far from Shu and others, and the snake's roar resounded through the sea of fire. Don't want. Yi and others' pupils shrank, Snake's face flushed, and he shouted in sorrow. However, they had no time to react before Thunder's attack was launched. Fire style, Fire Dragon Flame Bullet. In the flames that filled the sky, a huge fire dragon spurted out from Thunder's mouth, containing a frightening power, and rushed directly towards the 3 people struggling on the ground. No, the borer had a look of fear on his face, and kept struggling to avoid it, but it was too late, and he could only watch the fire dragon sweep towards him. Boom! Amidst the violent explosion, the 3 people could only bear the devouring of the fire dragon, and their screams stopped abruptly. Ah! The snake let out a shrill howl, and tears flowed silently. Yi looked at the sea of fire, with a painful expression on his face. He hesitated to speak, and could only stare at Lei with his red eyes. Congratulations to host, you killed 3 great swordsmen and gained 6,000 experience points and 3,000 contribution points. The sound of the 9 trumpets sounded in Lei's mind, which immediately made his eyes brighten and his face became even more excited. Haha, but that's it, is it your turn now? Lei shouted coldly, and his figure instantly rushed towards them. Let's take action together and kill him. The snake's fighting spirit permeated the air, like an angry lion, and the bloodshot eyes in his pupils made him look even more beastly. The soles of his feet stamped on the ground, and a roar came from the snake's throat. The figure was like an arrow leaving the string, and it swung its sword towards Thunder. At the same time, Fang's fighting spirit surged. He followed the snake closely and strangled it together. Kill. Yi didn't say much. He stared at Lei with his cold eyes, holding the staff in his hand, and flames surging all over his body. Bound by fire, Yi's staff was raised high, and he waved it quickly while silently reciting a spell. As a great magician, he is not weak in strength. A terrifying power burst out, and terrifying ropes of flames appeared out of thin air, winding towards the thunder. Level 5 Binding Magic. This is the wing that can perfectly cooperate with Snake and the others in fighting. Under such binding magic, no one can escape their strangulation. Yi took a long breath. The use of several large-scale magics also made him a little tired, but he still looked at Lei with a sneer. He wanted to watch Thunder defeated by his magic. Oh, binding magic. Thunder's eyes flashed with surprise, but then he sneered, "Do you think such magic can restrain me?" Thunder's figure nimbly avoided the entanglement of the flame rope, and suddenly his right hand moved, faintly flashing with thunder light. "Watch me break these match ropes for you. Lightning style, Chidori." The lightning became brighter and dazzling, and then a chirping sound like Chidori suddenly sounded. "Is this thunder magic?" Looking at the thunder entangled by lightning, Yi suddenly became horrified. How can it be a dual system physique? "Come on," Thunder shouted, no longer dodging, but waving his right hand towards the strangling rope of flames. Bang bang. Under the shocked eyes of Yi, Snake, and Feng, the roiling ropes of flames were cut off one by Thunder. Seeing this scene, the three of them looked at each other and saw deep shock in each other's eyes. Dual system physique. Although Lei Lei's talent was shocked, he was not shaken by it. Even if Thunder has a dual system physique, they will not back down. Snake looked at the broken magic and roared, "So what if you have two physical systems? I will kill you all the same." Snake waved the machete in his hand without hesitation and slashed at Thunder. Feng followed Snake closely, and the two figures quickly rushed towards Thunder. Wing stood there calmly, waving his staff, ready to support at any time. Hee. Looking at Snake and Feng who were coming to kill him, Lei Lei raised his hand holding Lei Liang, sneered, and rushed towards them. The three figures quickly approached and then collided with each other. Instant technique. Lei Lei looked at the two figures rushing over, and completed the seal with his left hand at the same time. His figure disappeared instantly, and Snake and Feng's attacks suddenly fell into the air. Then, Thunder had appeared behind them. What speed is this, so fast? Snake and Feng cursed secretly and turned around immediately. A terrifying fighting spirit surged up. Snake just glanced at Lei Lei, and then his pupils suddenly shrank. PFF'd. Although he knew that Lei Lei was fast, he didn't expect it to be so fast. For a moment, he didn't even react. Thunder's hand held Chidori and instantly broke through Feng's fighting spirit defense and pierced his chest. Feng's eyes were in disbelief, and the vitality in his body quickly dissipated. The snake, yes, isn't rising. Feng's mouth was bleeding with blood. After saying a sentence with difficulty, his eyes were full of unwillingness and he fell directly to the ground. Snake saw with his own eyes that one of his men was killed by lightning in an instant, with a painful expression on his face, and suddenly a look of determination appeared on his face. The first rule of a killer is to complete the mission. He put away his sadness, fixed his eyes on Thunder, swung his sword and slashed at it, and at the same time, he yelled, "Wing, what is the first rule of a killer?" According to the principle of completing the mission, even if it means sacrificing yourself. Yi understood the meaning of the snake and gritted his teeth. Ha ha. Hearing this, Lei Lei sneered and said, "You are very powerful and cooperate perfectly, but you just bumped into me." Looking at the sword light of the snake slashing at him, Lei Lei's eyes suddenly burst out with a cold light, and he suddenly stepped towards the ground with his foot. Strange power. Boom. There was a loud bang. The ground beneath Thunder's feet instantly tore apart like a spider web, and the raised soil pelted the snake. This snake was horrified, but did not flinch. Instead, his fighting spirit surged, and with even stronger power, he swung his sword to break open the clods of soil. Haha, yes, it makes me even more excited. As he spoke, Lei Lei raised his hand and struck the snake. Snake looked at the figure who was quickly attacking him. It was too late to draw his sword, so he also punched him. Strange power. Lei Lei looked at the snake's movements and sneered, and his strange power exploded again. Immediately afterwards, the two collided directly, and a terrifying explosion sounded. Poof. How is that possible? Then, the snake's figure flew out instantly, and while he was still in the air, he spat out a mouthful of blood and looked at Thunder in disbelief. Why is his power so terrifying? Bang! The snake's body flew more than 10 meters before hitting the ground heavily. Thunder, you are very strong. Snake stood up and wiped the blood from the corner of his mouth before speaking. You're not weak either. Looking at the snake that could still get up, under the full blow of the strange power, it seemed like nothing was wrong. Lei was noncommittal. With that said, the two started moving again and rushed towards each other. Seeing the snake and the thunder collide again, Yi's anger and shock were entangled in his heart, and he waved the magic wand again. Meteor shower. Fire rain suddenly fell from the sky, covering the thunder and snakes overwhelmingly. At this time, Lei finally showed a somewhat dignified look. If it was just Yi, he wouldn't be afraid at all. But coupled with the entanglement of the snake, he became extremely fearful. This is a snake that wants to die with him. Haha, isn't that surprising? Snake looked at the rain of fire bombarding him. He was not nervous or afraid at all, but was very excited. Facing the grim-looking Lei, he laughed and said, "Let's die together." As soon as he finished speaking, Snake waved the long knife in his hand and flew towards Thunder. He wanted to entangle Thunder so that he would have no ability to escape from the fire rain. Looking at the slashing sword light, Lei Ting's face turned cold. He knew that if he still held back, he would probably have to confess here today. Bring it on. Looking at the slashing sword light, Lei opened his mouth, let out a roar, and said domineeringly, "Then let me see how you can kill me." The next moment, Lei stepped on the ground with both feet and shot out like a sharp arrow. "I will risk my life to kill you today." Snake, however, was not afraid at all. Looking at Lei who was gradually being forced into a desperate situation, Snake roared angrily. Fighting slash. Lei's expression changed slightly, but he did not avoid it. At the same time, Chidori-like chirping sounded again. Lightning style. Chidori. Thunder's body was once again surrounded by thunder and lightning. Stimulated by thunder and lightning, his body speeded up again, and he shouted, "Break it!" Strange power. Strange power plus Chidori. The raging Chidori is even more terrifying, like a tiger descending from the mountain to destroy everything. It collided hard with the fighting spirit coming from the snake's killing. Bang! With a violent collision, Chidori instantly smashed the Do-Chi slash, and then rushed towards the snake with devastating power. No! Yi looked at all this in despair, watching helplessly as the snake was killed by thunder. Poof! Ah! Impossible! Snake roared in pain as he looked at the strange thunder and lightning unleashed by Lei, which cut through his fighting spirit. His body was surrounded by thunder and lightning, and sparks of lightning continued to flash on his body. However, his blurred eyes looked at the rain of fire bombarding him, and a smile appeared on his face. "Wing, my mission is completed, it's up to you." Finally, the snake lost its strength and fell to the ground. Bang! The snake's figure had just fallen, and Lei had no time to be happy, because it was not over yet. The fire rain magic cast by Yi immediately hit Thunder. "Do you think you can die with me like this?" Lei sneered and looked at the snake lying on the ground, with a trace of disdain in his eyes. "You are so naive. Your death means nothing." Magnet style. Sand iron wall. After saying that, a thick sand iron wall formed above the head. Hoo ho ho. Dense rain of fire bombarded the sand iron wall, and suddenly, the roar continued. However, the impact of the fire rain was huge, but it only left some shallow pits on the sand and iron wall, and was unable to break through the defense of the sand and iron wall. This, impossible. Looking at the sand iron wall where thunder was cast, Yi's whole face was filled with shock. "This guy, how come he has so many weird moves?" Wing muttered through gritted teeth, unwillingness flashing in his pupils. "Hateful. Haha. Snake, you are wrong. I never imagined that at the expense of yourself, it would end like this." Looking at the fallen snake, Yi laughed wildly, his heart filled with helplessness, grief and anger, unwillingness, and helplessness. All the sacrifices are no longer worth it. It's all like a dream. All of this is because of Thunder's weirdness and his powerful strength. All struggles are useless. Looking at Lei's unscathed appearance, Yi looked at Lei in despair, his eyes full of unwillingness and anger. "Why are you so angry after seeing me unscathed?" Lei sneered and taunted Yi, you are still too young. Yi's face was ashen. Just as Lei Lei said, Snake had misjudged, but they had no way out. Yi, you have no way out, give up. Tell me the person behind the scenes. Lei Lei stared at Yi in front of him and said in a low voice. Hearing Lei Ting's words, Yi looked at Lei Ting coldly, grinned, and said with a bit of madness and provocation, admit defeat. Ha ha. Thunder, do you really think you have won? He slowly waved the staff in his hand, with deep hatred flashing in his eyes. The snake has left to complete the mission, and as a killer, I will never give up until I complete the mission. A trace of imperceptible surprise flashed across Lei Lei's eyes. It's really hard to imagine what kind of training they went through to become so effective for the organization, and even no longer have independent personalities. Even if it means sacrificing your own life. Then he regained his composure and snorted, Humph. What do you think you can rely on? Do you think you can make waves with your magic? Surrender, tell me the person behind the scenes, and let you go. Ha ha. Yi's momentum suddenly changed, his face turned red, his blood seemed to be boiling, the temperature in the air increased sharply, and blood flowed from the corners of his mouth. Yi's eyes' mental strength was overdrawn, but his eyes were even more eager. Do you think I will fight you with just level 5 magic? That's right, you are very strong. Level 5 magic is useless, so go to a higher level, even if it costs me a heavy price. Thunder, you underestimate my Yi, and you will pay a heavy price. Ha ha. Lei Lei laughed, and his blood boiled at the same time. Then let me see how big a wave you can make. Is it your fire magic that is more powerful, or my fire magic that devours you? Lei Lei's voice was full of challenge, and he was also domineering and unwilling to be outdone. Yi closed his eyes and took a deep breath, as if he wanted to suck all the air in the world into his body. After a moment, he opened his eyes and looked at Lei Lei coldly. There seemed to be hot flames coming out of his eyes, which made it impossible to look directly at him. Yi suddenly shouted, Thing Lei, don't be too happy too early. We haven't been defeated yet. You will still die here today. As Yi's voice fell, the jerky spells became louder, and at the same time, he waved his staff quickly, and the fire element in the sky rioted. Boom! Just when Lei Lei was confused, the sky seemed to burst open. In Thunder's eyes, a huge fireball burst through the void, and its whole body exuded the aura of violence, heat, and destruction. Die! Yi laughed crazily, his eyes filled with enthusiasm and obsession, and his voice became hoarse. Thunder, do you think you have seen my limit? You are so wrong. His right hand held the control of the staff tightly, guiding the surrounding fire elements. At some point, Yi's shadow stretched behind him, making his figure even more tragic. He suddenly raised his staff and swung it towards Thunder. Level 6 magic fire explosion. Until you are annihilated. Haha, come on. So what about the magic? Let me break it. Lei Lei was not afraid. Instead of retreating, he advanced and laughed crazily. The hands formed seals quickly, the energy in the body circulated rapidly, and the heat in the throat continued to condense. Looking at the giant great fireball that was blasting away, the scorching fire dragon sprayed away at it instantly. Fire style, fire dragon flame bullet. The fire dragon let out a roar, and almost instantly, it rushed towards the huge fireball at high speed. Boom! There was a loud noise, and two hot forces collided together, but there was no earth-shattering explosion sound as imagined, nor was there any dazzling light. After a moment of stalemate, the fire dragon passed directly through the giant great fireball, leaving no room for obstruction. The huge fireball was like a bubble, and was directly eroded by the fire dragon, crushing it unilaterally. Thunder laughed heartily. Ah, Yi couldn't believe it. He couldn't imagine the scene he saw. He roared hysterically, impossible. How could my level 6 magic be broken so easily by you? How come? After all, you lose, accept the punishment of fate. If you want to kill me, you are not qualified enough. Accompanied by Thunder's indifferent roar, the huge fire dragon swallowed the fireball and rushed forward. The terrifying power completely exploded. Wherever the fire dragon passed, everything along the way would be destroyed. No, Wing's face was full of fear and unwillingness. He spit out a mouthful of blood and looked exhausted. His staff couldn't help but fall to the ground. He looked dejected, as if he had lost his spiritual sustenance. Looking at the devouring fire dragon, his eyes were filled with irresistible sadness, and he slowly closed his eyes, feeling the endless pain in his heart uncontrollably. Snake, we failed, Yi whispered hoarsely, her voice revealing unbearable heartache and regret. After a while, the scene gradually became quiet, Thunder's figure was reflected in the sea of fire, and all disputes came to an end. Aren't these killers afraid of death? Looking at the charred corpses huddled on the ground turned to ashes in front of him, Lei couldn't be happy, because this was not the result he needed. Congratulations to host, for killing the great magician for the first time. The reward is 8,000 experience points and 4,000 contribution points. Congratulations to host, you killed the enemy in front of you with superb skills. The task evaluation is A, and the reward is 15,000 experience points and 7,500 contribution points. Reward blood succession limit Sharingan. Suddenly, Lei's face was filled with excitement. It's Sharingan. Before Lei had time to be happy, he raised his head and looked into the distance. There was a sound of breaking wind over there, and his heart tightened. Trouble, someone is coming. Thunder's figure suddenly turned into a black shadow and rushed into the dense forest. After Lei disappeared for a moment, more than 10 figures appeared here at the same time. If Lei was still here, he would be extremely surprised. Because these people are from the Black Wolf mercenary group. The leader was none other than Tai Lang, the head of the Black Wolf mercenary group branch of the Longwu Empire and the deputy leader. Everyone in the Black Wolf mercenary group looked at the ground in front of them that was burned to ashes by the flames with shocked expressions. Their eyes swept over the corpse, and the figure suddenly seemed stiff. This scene filled their hearts with doubts and uneasiness, and they became alert at the same time. Tai Lang's expression was indifferent, and suddenly his eyes narrowed and stopped on the charred corpse and the undestroyed staff, but his heart was filled with turmoil. It turns out that all magicians have died. Iron Wolf murmured to himself, his voice revealing unbelievable shock. He had witnessed the power of magicians before. They were powerful enough to make it difficult for them to resist, and now they died here. Looking at the flames that had not yet been extinguished, he shouted to the men behind him, "Spread out and check the situation." Yes, the agile mercenaries were scattered across the battlefield like arrows, carefully searching for clues. Only Tai Lang's eyes were as bright as a torch, still staring at the charred corpse. All the magicians died here. Who were they fighting? My mind is full of questions. Captain, come here and take a look, there is something discovered here. Suddenly, a solemn voice interrupted his contemplation. The Iron Wolf figure rushed over in an instant, looking at the 3 corpses on the ground with trembling eyes. Suddenly, his fists clenched tightly and made a crunching sound. Looking at the black substance remaining on the corpse with a gloomy face, his heart was filled with raging anger, and he gritted his teeth and said, "Sand iron." Iron Wolf's eyes flashed with a fierce light, his face was as gloomy as ink, and he gritted his teeth and let out a low roar. Good, very good, appeared here. His voice was full of anger. This discovery was so unexpected. Their trip was to investigate the destruction of the Warcraft town. Their only clue was the iron sand left on the bodies of the slain mercenaries. Then, there was no information, and they felt helpless for a time. Unexpectedly, he found sand iron here again, which made his eyes sharp and cold. Haha. I finally found it. Very good. Expand the search scope for me and find that person. Tai Lang's face was indifferent, but his voice was so vicious that it sent chills all over his body, but it gradually echoed in the sky. No matter who it is, as long as I find you, I will definitely make you suffer the pain of scraping your flesh with a bull knife. His words were cold. Every word was like an ice blade in winter, sharp and cold. Yes, leader. Haha. Sharingan. The college, unaware of the clues exposed by Lei, was sitting in the villa at the moment, looking at the mirror with his red eyes, and there were 3 Magatama slowly rotating in his eyes. There was a strong excitement in my heart. Lei took a deep breath, and the corners of his mouth curved slightly, and then he laughed, which echoed in the house. It's actually a 3 Magatama Sharingan. The powerful eye power made him feel extremely excited. Lei felt that the whole scene had changed in his eyes. Vision is clearer. Now he can only describe his mood as ecstatic. This harvest far exceeded Lei's expectations. Originally, he just wanted to get the green lotus fruit, but he didn't expect that the killer organization would also come looking for him. Not only did it contribute experience points, but it also allowed him to obtain the Sharingan of 3 Magatama. 3 Magatama Sharingan. This powerful pupil power can penetrate, copy, release genjutsu, read memories. The powerful ability makes him feel extremely excited and excited. Staring at his Sharingan quietly, the excitement in his heart calmed down. Lei Lei couldn't help but think that while Sharingan was powerful, its shortcomings were also very obvious. 9 speakers. Will long-term use of Sharingan deplete pupil power and worsen vision? Host, please rest assured that everything provided by the system has no side effects. Hehe. That's great. After looking at the mirror for a while, Lei Lei closed the Sharingan. He now has 3 kinds of bloodstains, the primary immortal body, the magnet style and the Sharingan, plus the A-level ninjutsu Chidori, which makes him even more powerful and doubled in strength. During this period of time, Lei Ming had been in the academy and had never gone out. What interested him was that Lei Ming had not received the green lotus fruit and became furious. Even the academy was alarmed. However, no clues could be found and the matter was finally settled. However, today an uninvited guest came to the college. Under the leadership of the Holy Bishop, he visited the college, causing a sensation in the entire college. Guangming Academy. When Lei Lei heard Jar's words, he frowned and said nothing. The Holy Mountain Guangming Academy can be said to be the cradle of bright magicians in the mainland. For thousands of years, the Holy Mountain Guangming Academy has supplied a large number of light magicians to the holy religion. This is the first time Lei Lei has heard of this ancient Guangming Academy. After a moment of silence, Jar slowly spoke. Yes, Brother Lei, under the blessing of the holy religion, Guangming Academy is very low-key and rarely involves things outside the academy. However, Guangming Academy has a rich foundation and is full of masters. Its strength is almost higher than that of the academies of several major empires. They are here this time for eldest sister. Jar's serious voice rang in Lei Ting's ears, causing Lei Ting's pupils to shrink suddenly. Jar, are you saying that this is the holy cult coming here for Sister Yue? That's right, Brother Lei, the holy cult came here to invite Sister to Guangming Academy. This is one of their purposes, and the other purpose is that Guangming Academy will also participate in this magic martial arts competition. Jar looked serious and said solemnly. What's Sister's attitude? Lei Lei was just concerned about Sister Yue and looked at Jar with a heavy expression. Ha, look at your serious look, don't worry. Jar looked at Lei Lei's serious face, and her delicate cheeks suddenly chuckled. The college has clearly rejected it. The eldest sister has not agreed either. Will the Holy Church stop here? Lei Lei breathed a sigh of relief, but also wondered. Don't worry, Brother Lei, although the holy cult is powerful, Falong Academy is not a vegetarian. As he spoke, Jar raised his arm. However, Lei Lei felt that the matter would not be that simple. If Sister Yue was invited to Guangming Academy, all it would take was the director of Guangming Academy to come over, so there was no need to alert the bishop. The status of a bishop is a very lofty existence in the Holy Church. The heads of the Holy Church in major empires are bishops, which illustrates the status of the bishop. Thinking of this, Lei Lei felt that it was even more extraordinary. Thunder, are you there? At this moment, Feng Ning's loud voice rang outside the door. Lei Lei's heart sank and he looked up to see Feng Ning rushing in with a panicked expression. What's the matter, so panicked? When Feng Ning saw Lei Lei, he was overjoyed and said, Let's go, follow me to the competition ground. Those guys from Guangming Academy are so arrogant that they came directly to the door. Hearing this, Lei Lei's heart tightened. As expected, those guys were not just here to communicate, but to play a game. What's going on now? It's very bad. Feng Ning shook his head, looking very ugly. When I came over, Yan Hao, who was ranked 10th on the list, was ready to play. It seems that the people coming to Guangming Academy are evil. Soon, Feng Ning and Lei Lei arrived at the competition ground, which was already crowded with people. At the same time, bursts of exclamations came from the crowd in the competition arena, and the exclamations became more and more frequent. Even the 10th ranked Yan Hao was defeated. How can we fight now? We have lost 5 games in a row. If we continue to lose, I'm afraid I will lose all my face. When he first arrived, Lei Lei saw a boy in blue, about 15 or 16 years old, holding a big sword and looking at the teachers and students of Fulong Academy with a contemptuous expression. There's no one left. Are you all scared? Is this the strength of Fulong Academy? I didn't expect the people here to be so weak. Haha, compared with our great Guangming Academy, Fulong Academy is simply scum. This young man seemed a little arrogant, and his words made everyone in Guangming Academy burst into laughter. But what he said made everyone in Fulong Academy look even more ugly. They were very angry but had nothing to say. Because, this blue-haired boy defeated Yan Hao, who was ranked 10th. When everyone thought this was just the beginning, Yan Hao was defeated. The defeat was quite simple. The great swordsman was so powerful that he was defeated after only persisting in a few moves. What an ugly defeat. Suddenly, everyone was stunned and at the same time very shocked and frightened. Could it be that the 10th ranked person in the ranking is not as powerful as the 15th ranked Guangming Academy? Everyone was looking at the competition stage, where the figure kept mocking and looking at everyone in Fulong Academy arrogantly. At this time, the fighting arena is full of gunpowder, but at least everyone will not be at odds with each other. When the provocative voice of the boy in blue sounded again, the atmosphere in the audience became extremely solemn. Where are the other people on the ranking list? Why don't you go up and defeat this arrogant guy? You are stupid. Even Yan Hao lost. The top 10 people are even more afraid to take action. Even if they win, they will lose their face. If they lose, it will only be even more ugly. I can't stand it. Are we going to let him continue to be so arrogant? After saying that, he turned his expectant eyes to the central area of the competition ground, where the upper echelons of Fulong Academy and Guangming Academy were located. At the same time, the top 50 students in the college rankings are all here. In response to the countless glances directed at them, the college instructors and the students on the ranking list couldn't help but have cold sweat on their foreheads, their palms were clenched tightly, and there was a hint of anxiety in their eyes. Where is Li Shaoran? Is he here? A grumpy instructor looked at the arrogant young man in blue on the competition stage and asked angrily. Li Shaoran is an influential figure in the younger generation of Fulong Academy. He has surpassed many veteran students and now only he can control the situation. No, mentor, Li Shaoran is still practicing in seclusion. The person who replied was Xu Ying, who was number 1 on the ranking list. At this time, he looked at the people on the field and wanted to kill them with his sword. But he couldn't, there was no glory in winning, he could only look at the man arrogantly. What? He's still in seclusion, or else I'll go in. We can't let him continue to be so arrogant. Bai Yun, who was 9th on the list, said with a solemn expression. No, your strength is not much different from that of Yan Hao. You are just fooling yourself. Xu Ying shook his head and rejected it. Hearing this, Bai Yun suddenly became angry, his face turned red, and he yelled, Xu Ying, do you just want to see him arrogant like this? At worst, Laozi will go up and fight with him. Please be quiet, there are distinguished guests here. How can you be so presumptuous? At this time, an old man sitting at the front seat said in a calm tone. This person is Zhang Junyun, the vice president of Fulong College. Although his words are calm, his face does not relax at all. He was provoked to the doorstep and was so humiliated. How could he be so calm? But thinking about Bai Yun's strength, just like Xu Ying said, there is no hope of victory. Vice Dean, are you going to keep watching like this? Bai Yun was a little unwilling. If you are not as strong as others, just practice hard for me. Dean Zhang Junyun sighed, his face full of disappointment. Haha, Dean Zhang, don't worry too much, let's just have a friendly discussion. Don't hurt the harmony. There is no point in fighting anymore, so why not just wave your hands? At this time, Vice President Bai of Guangming College suddenly said, looking at the people on the field with a smile. Then, he turned to Feng Yue who was behind Zhang Junyun and said, that's right, Mentor Feng Yue, Guangming Academy has a profound foundation. Winning the competition is nothing to show off. Zhang Junyun ignored Bai's sarcasm at all, but slowly closed his eyes, waiting for the farce to end. But Feng Yue lowered her head and looked at the entrance and exit of the competition ground. When she saw a familiar figure appearing, her eyes suddenly brightened. Guangming Academy is indeed full of talents, but Fulong Academy, are not weak either. He's coming. Ah, what? Zhang Junyun and everyone on the side were stunned. Whoosh! Just when everyone was confused, a figure suddenly appeared and rushed towards the competition stage quickly, attracting everyone's attention. Who is coming? The arrogant young man in blue couldn't help but shouted coldly when he saw the figure appearing on the field. Yang Shui stared intently at the figure, with a touch of unconcealable excitement on her pretty face. He's here. After hearing what Yang Shui and Feng Yue said, everyone looked at the figures on the competition stage and looked at each other a little bit. Who is this person? How come they have never seen it before? The only people here, Lu Wu, Kai Ming, Lu Wu and others, looked at such a familiar figure and showed excitement. Okay, give him a good beating. Fulong Academy, Thunder. Lei Lei stood on the competition stage, looking up at the young man in blue, and a faint voice sounded on the competition stage. The sudden appearance of a figure directly made the competition arena noisy. People looked at the figures on the competition stage with incredulous eyes. For a moment, the noisy competition arena became quiet. Brother Lei. Jar looked at the tall and straight body on the competition stage, with a trace of worry on her delicate face. Don't worry, sister, trust him. Feng Ning looked at Lei Lei. His face became excited. He had never been so convinced by someone. This guy appears at critical moments every time. Yang Shui breathed a sigh of relief, but still said reluctantly. Yang Shui, is this Lei Lei, who is known as the college's waste? Xu Ying asked with a frown. Of course, there is only this thunderbolt in the academy. Are there others? Yang Shui rolled her eyes and said angrily, are you disappointed? Haha, Xu Ying, your information is out of date. Thunder is now ranked 54th on the rankings, so it is not useless. Bai Yun said sarcastically from the side, but his eyes were a little suspicious, although he admired Thunder's courage. But what can he do up there? Deliver food? Isn't it embarrassing enough? Well, since someone is willing to challenge him, even if he loses the fight, it doesn't matter. Since he is representing our college on the stage, everyone should support him. Zhang Junyun opened his eyes and stared at Lei Lei. After a moment, a flash of surprise flashed in his eyes, but he still shook his head and chuckled lightly. Judging from his words, it was obvious that he didn't have high expectations for the Thunder to defeat the boy in blue. I hope I won't be killed by one move, otherwise, the college will lose all face. Xu Ying was a little angry. How could he find the courage to go up privately? Haha, just watch. Zhang Junyun smiled and glanced at Bai, finding a hint of surprise on his face, obviously seeing the strangeness of Thunder. Dean, just watch, I believe him. Feng Yurier smiled. On the competition stage, the young man in blue looked at Lei Lei who appeared, and was as excited as if he had seen prey. He shouted coldly, you are so brave, you actually dared to come on stage. Really? Hearing this, Lei Lei's expression also turned cold. You are so arrogant, I'm afraid you won't be able to get off the stage later. Haha, the joke is just you. The young man in blue was stunned for a moment, then laughed loudly, with a flash of fierceness in his eyes. Those who used to talk big like you lie down without fear of the strong wind flashing their tongues. After saying that, he pointed at Thunder with the long sword in his hand, and shouted coldly, take out your weapon. Trigger the mission, thwart the provocation of Guangming Academy, and in exchange for the reputation of the academy, you will be rewarded with 10,000 experience points and 5,000 contribution points. Hearing the voice in his mind, Lei Lei had a slight smile on his lips and laughed, haha. Okay. Then, his eyes suddenly became sharp. If everyone competed harmoniously, he wouldn't mind saving some face for others. If he was so arrogant and domineering, he would certainly not be merciful. What's more, the system also gives tasks. To deal with someone like you, bare hands are enough. If I draw my sword, I'm afraid it will hurt you. After Lei Ting finished speaking, the chaotic scene suddenly became quiet. Is empty-handed enough? Are you afraid that drawing your sword will hurt you? Are the Thunder so confident? Everyone in Fulong Academy looked a little ugly, and they suddenly looked at each other. This Thunder, why are you still looking down on the opponent so much? Yan Hao looked very ugly. With such strength, he could only sustain a few moves in the opponent's hands before losing. Thunder, why? You have some strength and show off like this. You really don't know how high the sky is. I wonder what will happen if he loses. Xu Ying looked equally ugly and said angrily. On such an occasion, Thunderbolt is still so trusting. If he loses, the entire academy will be ridiculed. Doesn't he know it? Haha, Lao Zhang, are all the students in your college so unique? Bai said with a sarcastic smile. Who is not young and energetic? Zhang Junyun could only smile bitterly in his heart. Arrogant boy. After hearing Lei Ting's words, the boy in blue smiled instead of being angry. He looked at Lei Ting as if he were an idiot. You came here to act like a fool. Come on, let's see what you can do to win against me. As soon as he finished speaking, the young man in blue waved his long sword, and his figure rushed towards Thunderbolt like lightning. Lei Lei looked at the young man in blue who was the first to attack, his body motionless. Thinking of the arrogant look of the young man in blue before on the competition stage, he smiled. He is more arrogant than him. Hee, I always like to blow up people like you. Before the opponent's fierce offensive was about to hit, Lei Lei laughed, and then snorted instantly. Sharingan, open. A pair of eyes suddenly turned blood red, and the three magatama in the eyeballs quickly rotated, staring closely at the young man in blue who was charging towards him. Seeing that Lei Lei had no intention of evading or even taking action, everyone suddenly became quiet. They could only use one word to describe Lei Lei's performance. Arrogant. However, if you are arrogant, you must also have the capital to be arrogant. Ah, seeing the young man in blue who didn't stop at all, everyone's expressions changed drastically. Only Feng Yue, Yang Shui and others remained calm. They know in their hearts how strong Thunder is. He is no longer the waste he used to be. Even the swordsman was defeated by him. This is enough to show how powerful Thunder is. HMPH. Then you go to hell. The boy in blue saw that Lei Lei underestimated him so much, and his heart suddenly became angry. Then he no longer held back, his fighting spirit rolled, and the tip of the sword pierced Lei Lei's throat. Ah, get out of the way. Everyone exclaimed as they looked at the mighty offensive of the boy in blue, who was about to reach the Thunder throat in a flash. Some people couldn't help but feel unbearable in their hearts, and closed their eyes tightly, not wanting to see the bloody scene that was about to happen. Thunder, you fool, what are you doing? Hide, won't you be scared out of your wits? There was a sinister smile on the lips of the boy in blue, and his eyes were fixed on Lei Lei, but he did not hide or defend against his attacks. He did not expect that there would be such an idiot who could pretend. Then he was not polite, and stabbed straight away with the sword in his hand without hesitation. However, when he was grinning ferociously, his eyes suddenly became dull, and his figure seemed to be frozen, and suddenly stopped stiffly. Hee, makes you arrogant. The magatama in the thunderous eyes rotated wildly. At the moment of Sharingan's genjutsu among the boys in blue, the figure instantly turned into a blurry black shadow. His right fist was clenched and suddenly blasted out. Feeling the aura of terror coming, the young man in blue suddenly woke up due to the sense of crisis of death, his pupils tightened, and a look of horror appeared on his face. How is that possible? The boy in blue had a face full of horror. He had no time to escape and was desperately trying to activate his fighting spirit. Nothing is impossible, weird power. Lei Lei shouted coldly, and the power of his right fist was even more terrifying, and he hit the boy in blue fiercely. Boom! A punch hit the young man in blue. The young man in blue felt as if his chest was hit by a mountain. His internal organs were suddenly shocked, and his energy and blood surged. Then, his body suddenly shot backwards, and a mouthful of blood spurted out. Bang! The body hit the ground heavily, and still rolled against the floor for more than 10 meters before slowly stopping. In an instant, the whole place was stunned and fell into silence. On the competition ground, the young man in blue was pale and struggling hard. His nostrils were bleeding and he was vomiting blood in his mouth. He was even more embarrassed. Everyone was stunned, looking at the miserable appearance of the boy in blue in disbelief. They originally thought that Thunder was about to splatter blood on the spot, but they didn't expect that it would suddenly change so quickly. Are they dazzled? The young master in blue flew backwards instantly, and the astonishing reversal happened so fast that they were unexpected. They were still worried about the Thunder before, but now they seemed to be in a dream, everything happened too fast. Did the Thunder win? The scene fell silent for a while, and everyone looked at each other, as if they couldn't believe the facts in front of them. Haha, win, the Thunder win. Feng Ning's red-faced roar suddenly rang out in the silent field, instantly detonating the whole place. Win, haha, We won. Thunder. Thunder. The scene suddenly became crazy, and the frustration of being ruthlessly attacked, ridiculed and inaction by Guangming Academy was instantly released. Fulong Academy has swept away its previous decadence, and its morale has soared. Being bullied by one person from Guangming Academy, who wouldn't feel extremely aggrieved. Not only did Thunder win, but he won very thoroughly. At this moment, Lei Lei, who had turned the tide, was no longer a loser in everyone's mind, and they no longer looked down upon him, but more admired him. Although many people on the rankings had unhappy faces and were very unconvinced, they did not show it. After all, this was done by the Thunder themselves. This guy, why has he become stronger again? He is just like an animal. Yang Shui, Lu Wu and others looked at each other and smiled bitterly. They knew that Lei Lei would win the fight, but they never expected that it would be so easy. So strong. Xu Ying, Bai Yun and others looked at Lei Lei again, and there was obviously some inexplicable meaning in their eyes. Recalling the power of Thunder's punch just now, if it were them, they probably wouldn't be able to completely resist it. A tutor from Guangming Academy rushed to the competition stage, checked the boy in blue's physical condition, and looked ugly. He raised his head and looked at Lei Lei, with a fierce look in his eyes. Boy, it's just a competition, but you are so vicious. Lei Ting remained calm, rubbed his right hand, and said slowly, why can't you afford to lose? Did he just show mercy when he made a move? Or do you want to show mercy at all times? He is arrogant and domineering, utters evil words, and yet he wants us to tolerate everything. This is not our Fulong Academy style. Lei Lei's words were very sharp, and he started to sneer directly at the man. Everyone in Fulong Academy felt very comfortable after hearing this. But you took action and seriously injured him. This is an indisputable fact. What do you think? I can't explain it clearly. If you're not convinced, Lei Lei said domineeringly, then, let's fight again. War, war. Everyone in Fulong Academy was even more excited when they heard it, and they roared directly. They had seen them being arrogant before, but now they wanted to vent their anger no matter what. It's so cool to declare war on them. The faces of everyone in Guangming Academy suddenly turned pale, and they were actually pointed in the face and directly asked for a fight. Haha, okay, our Fulong Academy is Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon. Even students like Lei Ting are so low-key in the academy. Zhang Junyun, who had always been sullen, suddenly burst into laughter. Thinking of Bai Yi's sneer face before, Zhang Junyun suddenly felt a breath of bad breath. Bai Yi stared closely at Lei Lei, his expression extremely ugly, and even a hint of murderous intent flashed in his eyes. Good boy, it's just a sparring match. He was so cruel that he almost lost half his life. However, the moment he showed his murderous intent, he felt Zhang Junyun next to him lock onto him instantly. This old guy is strong enough. Bai Yi was shocked. He couldn't really do anything to Lei Ting. At most, he could only suppress him. It's just a competition, how can there be no scars? Zhang Junyun said coldly. That's right, since ancient times, heroes have been born from young men. It's the right thing to be young and energetic. Bai Yi's mouth twitched, and his expression was terrifyingly gloomy. But now it is the turn of the students from Guangming Academy. Their faces are not so good looking. Since Thunder can instantly kill the boy in blue, its strength will naturally not be low. I am afraid it will be difficult for them to defeat them. Once you lose, you will lose your future in the Holy Mountain. On the competition stage, the instructor of Guangming Academy was very angry at Lei Ting's invitation. When had he ever been so angry? Very good. I have so many experts in Guangming Academy, let me see how much better you can win. Haha, then come on, you all come together, I will fight as much as you come. Lei Lei said loudly. Lei Ting's words resounded throughout the audience, and the students at Fulong Academy suddenly became excited and started to boo. Thunder is mighty, let's fight from the Guangming Academy. Haha, are you scared out of your wits? At this time, Feng Yuee was also in high spirits and said softly, Thing Lei is such a troublemaker. I will teach him a lesson later. Teacher Yuee, young people must be energetic. Zhang Junyun laughed, and then suggested to Bai Yi beside him, I think forget it, there is no point in comparing. He returned this sentence completely to Bai Yi, feeling extremely relieved in his heart. The people around him were so depressed that they really didn't dare to laugh in this situation, otherwise they would be too unreasonable towards Guangming Academy. HMPH. He wants to fight against Guangming Academy with one person. How could Bai not hear Zhang Junyun's sarcasm, and said coldly to the students of Guangming Academy behind him, "Others have called you for battle, why don't you take action?" The instructor of Guangming Academy sneered, "Boy, do you know the consequences of declaring war? Don't do something you regret just for the sake of success. I want to see how you can bear the anger of Guangming Academy." After the instructor finished speaking, he glanced at Thunder and then directly carried the boy and blew away. He could already imagine the tragedy that Thunder was about to face. The competition arena was already going crazy, and all the students were cheering for Thunder. They felt that they were forced by Guangming Academy. As for the students of Guangming Academy, they all looked at each other in confusion, wondering whether to go together or one by one, and they were a little embarrassed. "Ha ha!" Lei Lei raised his fingers at the people of Guangming Academy and shouted, "People of Guangming Academy, let's fight. I'm going to suppress his arrogance first." A student from Guangming Academy was immediately angered by Lei Ting's provocation, and finally couldn't help but rush to the competition stage, looking at Lei Ting with a gloomy face. "Guangming Academy, ranking 13, Chen Kun comes to fight. Are you the only one?" Lei Lei asked with disdain. "Boy, I alone am enough. Don't take our Guangming Academy seriously. You are the first and the last one to watch the sword." Chen Kun slashed out with his sword. The force of the sword was like a waterfall, and each strike contained overwhelming power. The shadow of the sword drew bright tracks in the air, and there was no flaw in the move at all. Suddenly, there seemed to be countless sharp swords, slashing from all directions, with extremely fierce momentum, as if they were going to cut the entire competition field apart. The students watching the battle held their breath and stared. This kind of swordsmanship is one of the best even in Fulong Academy. Lei Lei was not afraid at all. He stood there and calmly observed every attack of the opponent. The expression on his face did not seem to have changed in any way because of Chen Kun's fierce attack. It turned out to be a combination of Genjutsu's sword skills. He suddenly smiled softly, and the three Magatama in the Sharingan rotated rapidly. "If you can do something against other people, but in front of these eyes, you are asking for trouble. Drink. Break it for me." Thunder let out a deep cry. The long sword at his waist was instantly unsheathed, and he swung his sword to slash at countless sword shadows instantly. Bang! There was a collision, and the long sword in Lei Lei's hand struck Chen Kun's sword accurately. Boom! The long swords intersected, and the sword shadows that filled the sky suddenly turned into phantoms and disappeared. "If that's all, then you lose." Lei Lei's voice was low and provocative, instantly detonating the atmosphere of the audience. In the audience, the students of Guangming Academy who originally shouted for Chen Kun suddenly fell into silence, while the students of Fulong Academy cheered, and their voices were like waves of ocean waves. "Ha!" Chen Kun's face turned pale with shock. He couldn't believe that the phantom sword was easily broken by thunder. But Lei Lei didn't give him any time to react. He raised his head and sneered at Chen Kun, whose expression changed drastically in front of him. A flash of fierceness flashed in his eyes. Weird power. As soon as he finished speaking, Lei Lei's figure flashed and turned into a shadow. He clenched his left hand and immediately punched out. "Not good." Chen Kun secretly screamed, feeling the terrifying power coming over him, and a look of shock flashed across his face. However, although Chen Kun was horrified by Lei Ting's attack method, his reaction was not slow either. "Drink." As Lei Lei's fist rapidly enlarged in his pupils, he suddenly roared and took a step back. The fighting energy in his body surged rapidly at the same time, forming a defense on the surface of his body. "Hey, it's too late." Lei Lei looked at Chen Kun making his final resistance, and his fist exploded out, hitting Chen Kun's body hard under the gaze of everyone. Bang! Immediately afterwards, Chen Kun's body was hit hard and he flew more than 10 meters away. He stabilized his figure with his sword, knelt on the ground with one knee, and a mouthful of blood spurted out. The punch that Lei Lei just punched was too fast, and the power was even more terrifying. Even the fighting spirit defense was broken. At that moment, his body seemed to be torn apart, and he felt like he was going to die. Ignoring the surge of energy and blood in his chest, he raised his head with an incredible look on his face. After fighting with all his strength, Lei Lei still dared to attack with his left hand. What he couldn't accept even more was what kind of strange power was the terrifying power that exploded instantly from Thunder's arm. He was completely suppressed and did not lose unjustly. I lost. Chen Kun gritted his teeth and looked at Thunder, turning around and leaving the stage without hesitation. As he admitted defeat, the entire venue cheered. Ha ha, another punch to end the battle. Aren't you arrogant at Guangming Academy? Come again. Look at those geniuses from Guangming Academy, who are they looking at with their bitter expressions? Those people from Guangming Academy looked extremely ugly after seeing Chen Kun's clean defeat. If the geniuses on more than a dozen rankings were defeated by Thunder, it would be the most ridiculous thing in the world. What to do? The geniuses of Guangming Academy looked at each other with helplessness in their eyes. They originally thought that Chen Kun could test out the depth of Thunder, but they didn't expect that he would lose as easily as Thunder. This situation is completely like riding a tiger with difficulty, and Guangming Academy is completely caught in a dilemma. If you don't fight, you will be completely embarrassed. If you fight, you may be embarrassed again. It would be a complete joke to send out the combat power of the top few in the rankings. Lei Lei challenged Guangming Academy, but it did not say that students from Fulong Academy could not take action. It can be expected that as soon as any of the previous battle strength moves, Fulong Academy will come out to take over, and then it will turn into a magic and martial arts competition in advance. This is something neither college wants to see. Who's coming? Lei Lei stood on the competition stage, pointing his sword at Guangming Academy. His proud figure was so heroic. Before this, Fulong College had been blocked by Guangming College, but now, Lei Ting's words made them feel proud instantly. The thunderous shouts made the geniuses of Guangming Academy feel ashamed and turned pale with anger. They have long been accustomed to being held in the palm of someone's hand, and now this situation makes them feel extremely uncomfortable. Why, there are so many of you, but no one dares to come down and challenge. Lei Lei looked at Guangming Academy, who was still indifferent, and his loud voice sounded again. It doesn't matter if you have one or two, even if you fight in a group, I will take it. So domineering. Come on, defeat them. Ha ha. All the students of Fulong Academy burst into thunderous cheers, and the entire field was filled with excitement. The passion of the students of Fulong Academy was completely detonated by the thunder at this moment. Is this called a formation? This is a naked slap in the face. These laughters pierced the hearts of Guangming Academy like sharp swords, making all of them look livid. Such a voice, such humiliation. If no one from Guangming Academy responds to the challenge, then they will really lose their face. This kid is too arrogant. We really can't let it go like this, otherwise where will Guangming Academy's face be? You are young and energetic, how can you sit still when being pointed at your nose and humiliated like this? How can Guangming Academy still raise its head in front of other colleges in the future? There was a fierce debate in the Guangming Academy area. They had to admit that Thunder was very strong, so strong that even the top 10 students in the rankings were not sure of winning if they challenged him. What's outrageous is that they don't know the depth and limits of Thunder's strength. Hurry up and decide, that guy is calling for battle again. Half a minute has passed. Some people in Guangming Academy turned red with anger. They were pointed out by a 16-year-old boy and no one dared to join the formation. What does this mean? How can they from Guangming Academy continue to mess around in the future? How dare they call themselves the first academy? Ah, lousy, can't help it anymore. I hope everyone will support it and subscribe more.